A long time ago, in a galaxy far, far away. The next chapter in the Star Wars saga, Revenge of the Jedi. The battle between good and evil rages on. Join the further adventures of Luke Skywalker, Han Solo, Princess Leia, Lando Calrissian, Chewbacca, C-3PO and R2-D2, and Darth Vader. A journey to alien worlds. It's a trap. A rebellion against oppression. An epic of heroes and villains. An adventure as vast as the universe. Revenge of the Jedi. Coming May 25th to a theater in your galaxy.
And welcome once again to GeekFest Rants. My name is Carlos Perone, and joining me today I have Steve and Steve. Say hello, Steve and Steve.
May the force be with you.
What's up?
I thought he was going to say, and also with you. Today, if you haven't guessed already, not only are we doing a commentary, but we are doing the final. Because we all know there's never going to be another Star Wars.
I know, they closed that book.
This is Return of the Jedi, and we've done in the past Star Wars, and we've done Empire, so this is how we figured we would end the whole Jedi Star Wars series without having to necessarily dip into the prequels. However,
I just want to say one thing first. I just hope this movie's good.
Well,
no pressure.
It's funny because Jedi is kind of like, you know, most of us have our favorite Star Wars film, and it's most likely Empire, and then you have your Star Wars, or the other way around. But the thing that's very common with Star Wars fans, I think, is the fact that Jedi is usually the number 3 movie. Mm-hmm. A lot of people see it as the weakest of the 3.
Well, you know what's interesting, too? Not only that is it thought of as the weakest of the 3, but there's a subset of people who kind of say it's not as good as Revenge of the Sith.
You're right. Some people actually do put Sith ahead of this. And there's also some people that I've heard, you know, and again, claim this is like the best one they love the most, but you also might be dealing with people who just like to go the opposite direction of whatever the mainstream thing happens to be. If the mainstream thing happens to be Empire, if popular people or even wannabe Star Wars fans claim Empire is the best, some people will just go in the opposite direction just to be contrarian about it. But as far as I'm concerned, it's a good movie as far as the whole...
I think it's a very good movie.
...trilogy, the original trilogy goes. It kind of concludes the entire thing, obviously. It doesn't have the deep, you know, emotional landmark moments that we kind of got out of Empire. It does have some pretty heavy things, but... because these films kind of, obviously one follows the other, and we like to believe, or at least we were told that everything is done for a reason and everything has a plan.
Right.
We kind of are able to be super nitpicky about the fact that you can kind of tell that as the movies progressed,
there was not a plan.
There was a plan, but it wasn't. They didn't stick to it very much.
No.
And some things were modified as things went along.
Yeah.
Certain big plot points, you were like, this was never the original intent of Star Wars. But nevertheless, as far as I'm concerned, this is a great film. I'm glad we got to the third one. And it's funny because, you know, a few years ago, you know, even while we were doing this show, because, I mean, we've been doing this show for over 4 years now, there was no such thing as episode 7 in the horizon.
Nope.
And now I think it makes it even more important that this film is no longer an ending to the story.
Right.
But this film is going to be the essential place where we can kind of most likely say, this is where they're going to launch off of. This scene or this location or this particular plot line is what's going to have to continue, because this is where the story will leave off as far as we're concerned. Now, we're using the Blu-ray, which is obviously the latest and greatest version of the film, which has been, just like every single release out there throughout the years been modified. It was been modified. It was modified while we were watching probably the Laserdisc version. They probably tweaked it a little tiny bit like they did with Star Wars. Obviously, special editions came out. They modified the crap out of it with special editions. And even with the Blu-ray, I remember, they modified it even some more.
Well, they modified it with the DVD and then the Blu-ray.
Yeah, they just do not seem to be able to stop. And that's a Lucas thing. I mean, like it or hate it, you're stuck with it. I'm sure in whatever future format this will be coming out, we will see more changes to it.
And we'll point them out as we go along.
Yeah, we'll try to point them out and be as thorough as possible. But this is the type of film that, books have been written about it. I've read the making of Star Wars Empire and Jedi.
Yes,
and to be able to go through that book while watching the film is impossible. There's so much material, and hopefully we can kind of get to it fast enough because things will be happening too fast. And on other films that we watch, you have scenes of exposition where everything slows down and you can kind of catch up on certain facts. Yeah. I don't know if we'll have the time on this one.
We'll do our best.
So everybody load up your Blu-rays if you have them and go to your main menu where you have the play, setup, search, and commentary section and hit play right now.
I'm sorry. I thought we were watching the CAV version. So
God,
I need to redo my notes.
Okay.
Can you imagine trying to flip a disc and doing a commentary while
flip a disc like when you have to flip it like 8 times?
Nice. That's a Laserdisc reference for anyone who doesn't know.
Too young.
Old school.
Oh, this
Represent.
is the Fox Entertainment
Right,
logo.
this is just the home video logo, not the real one. PG. Yeah, this is something they didn't used to have before on DVDs. They used to not always throw your rating ahead of time. Mm-hmm. Usually you would just see an FBI warning.
Here we go.
And Fade Up on 20th Century Fox. It's a new 20th Century Fox, a newer one. It's not the original. And from what I understand, even all these things, Lucasfilm, I remember, was a different Lucasfilm logo.
Yep. Yeah, wasn't it green? It was just a Lucasfilm LTD
plain,
production.
Simple letters. Yeah. I forget when we lost that. It might have been after VHS probably, or
could have been
before
DVD.
laser. I don't know. I don't know if they ever messed with the crawl at all.
The crawl, I don't think so. And it was always episode 6.
Yeah, because it's not like Star Wars New Hope that they threw New Hope afterwards.
Right.
This was always what you see here, and.
I just to put myself to try to remember the mindset that I was in when this came out. I was 13 years old.
Yeah, me too.
And the anticipation. I mean, you have to remember that at this point in my life, it had been 6 years since New Hope, and if it's not an understatement to say that from the minute A New Hope hit, Star Wars just dominated my life. And with the toys and the comics and the movies and the whatever, that by the time this came out, I was ready to have a stroke.
No, and preparing for this in the early months of this, before it came out, the early years of this, it was Revenge of the Jedi we were all waiting for.
Yep.
Which we had no clue at the time, the behind the scenes shenanigans going on with the title and the back and forth and this and that. It was also the first Star Wars film that I saw opening day. Actually, I played hooky from school. I went to my local theater. I stood in line. It was just insane. The people there, you could hardly hear the movie because everybody was cheering through it so much. I remember I stayed afterwards to see it a second time because I wanted to hear it the second time.
So you were basically a criminal.
A criminal from the age of 13.
Okay. I was very proud of myself when this it came out on a Wednesday. I did not see it opening day, but on Thursdays, I went to a Catholic grammar school, and on Thursdays we had half a day for teacher meetings and stuff. So I hatched a scheme with my friends that we would see the first show, which would be at like 1 o'clock, because we got out of school at like 12 or 12:30. And when we saw it, no one was there. There was an empty theater.
Wow.
And
we were sold out.
We came out of that theater,
out.
and there was a line around the block. And I was just like, we saw it in an empty theater.
Wow. One of the things about the beginning of the movie is that one of the original drafts had 2 Death Stars.
Oh, really?
There were supposed to be 2 Death Stars at one point.
See, now that was one. I mean, I can even remember being 13 years old and saying, "This is kind of lazy." Another Death Star.
Mm-hmm.
It's a little disappointing. Now that's cool. There, you can see the TIE bomber in the bottom.
Yes. I never noticed that.
Which you never see.
It's the first time I saw that.
Yeah. Horribly dubbed British actor.
I remember the sound on this was so cool in the theater.
Mm-hmm.
Over there, the TIE bomber on the left.
Yeah. Now, was that new, Carlos?
No,
it's not.
It might have been cleaned up, but it was. I believe it was always there. I remember wasn't the guy to his left the same guy that was on the other shot? The white hair guy? Wow, that's weird. I remember, especially during seeing the trailer for this, the fact that they're using a different color scheme. You see a lot of blacks and reds, indicating the Emperor. And this is a movie where Luke is wearing black, and it's like, oh my God, is he changing? Is he turning? It had this whole weird vibe, even this whole beginning scene. There's so much darkness to it.
Just again, on my British actor kick, this is Michael Pennington playing Moff Jerjerrod.
Yep.
He, like most of the Imperials, most of the higher up officers, played by British actors and not dubbed like a lot of the other cast members who were from Britain. And he's another one who gets a ton of fan mail just from his 10 minutes in this movie. Steve, do you remember your first time seeing Jedi?
I don't remember if I saw it opening day or I do remember seeing it in the theater. It was in probably our local movie theater. But what I do remember distinctly was connecting to the movie through the toys. To me, and again, I was a little bit younger than you guys, not by much, but it's almost like New Hope and Empire kind of were priming the engine,
the pump
for this final chapter, and it's like so much anticipation had built.
Yeah.
And I think the Jedi gets a bad rap because coming off of Empire, which is my favorite Star Wars film,
ours too.
You're coming off a cliffhanger. So, and in which so much happened, so many, it was just so different, Empire, that by the time you got to Jedi, they really did need to start wrapping some things up. So, in and of itself, it was somewhat handcuffed.
Here, not to cut you off, but right here is an adjusted scene. This door is 10 times bigger than it was on the previous
And this is
version.
the Blu-ray.
This is the Blu-ray, which they added a larger door to make it seem even bigger. Another thing we don't see here is a deleted scene that is included in the special features section, which is Luke building the lightsaber in a cave before these guys head out, to meet Jabba.
Now, just to continue on with the toys, I was just probably as into the toys as both of you, but I have to admit, I was sort of on the downward slope with the toys at this time. Wow. I was 13, and I still bought all the figures, like Admiral Akbar and all the Jabba's palace people and whatever. But I did, and I bought Jabba, but I felt like, and my parents too, to be honest with you, felt like, aren't you getting a little too old for this? Mm-hmm. And they sort, not that they cut me off, but probably like once the Jedi mania had sort of abated, I was not like by like 84, even as early as 84, I was not buying any of the toys.
Well, by 85, they pulled the plug on the toys.
Well, right.
And what was interesting was that before the toys came out, or before the movie came out, the toys that were released, if you look at the back, they would purposely black out the Ewoks because they didn't want you to see the Ewoks ahead of time.
Right.
They were supposed to be a surprise similar to Yoda on Empire.
Right.
You would go and buy them, and it's like, somebody messed with my cards here. What's going on? And no, they did that on purpose.
He terrifies my kids.
Yeah, he is really creepy.
He's played by Michael Carter, British actor, but he's dubbed by an actor named Eric Bowersfeld, who did the voice for Bib and he did the voice for Admiral Akbar. Mm-hmm. And he's still alive. He's in his 90s.
Oh yeah.
And if you send him pictures to sign, he'll write he'll write it's a trap. He'll write Bib's lines in Huttese.
What's also a little different or weird is the fact that I remember, and I'm looking at them right now, the Gamorrean guards, to me, don't look that threatening. They look like big stuffed, styrofoam people.
very Henson-esque.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, he looks creepy.
Yeah.
But the Gamorrean guards look like guys in suits to me. No job.
I remember in the pan and scan version, you never were able to see the Gamorrean guard on the side of the frame. There he is.
Oh, there he is, Jabba.
Big deal in this movie. This is like, it's almost kind of like the Yoda of this movie in terms of the big reveal. Now, what's cool about this scene is that buried in this scene, you are going to see not only Boba Fett,
Bosk.
but Bosk and Dengar.
Dengar?
Dengar is mixed in there in some
I thought
shots.
I thought I was impressive that I knew Bosk was in it.
There's
Dengar
Yak
is,
Face
is
back
hiding
there.
There's
in
the
there.
Yak Face, yeah.
Another rare toy.
Yeah.
There's also a character, I think it's called a Yuzum. He's standing against the wall.
Right, but he's a new character.
Well, no, he's the Yuzum is what the Ewoks were originally going to look like.
Oh, really?
And it looks nothing like what you even imagine.
Yeah, look at Yak Face. Mm-hmm. And isn't that Beto, Greedo's cousin? No, seriously.
I think they named. Yeah, I think they gave him that name. I'm still not crazy about his hair, Luke's haircut.
Yeah, it's kind of ordinary.
It's very 80. I'd rather him
It's
have
80s.
Star Wars or Empire hair than that.
Yeah.
It's parted in the middle.
Ula,
I
played by Femi Taylor.
Met her
Did
at a
you?
convention, sure. She was great.
Now, for a puppet, Jabba's great. They did a great job. Salacious Crumb looks more like a little handheld puppet,
Yeah.
but Jabba, good job.
I do remember being fascinated by the behind-the-scenes special that they aired. It was on CBS.
No, it was on
Was-
PBS. You're talking
Was
about...
it
No,
on
they
the-
have multiple.
Well,
They have
yeah.
PBS and CBS.
Yeah,
But
the
you
CBS
talk-
version.
Is Steve... what I remember, and it was actually after Jedi...
The one hosted by Billy Williams, or the one hosted, or the one
narrated by Mark Hamill, from Star Wars to Jedi.
that's PBS.
Yeah, and
Yes.
and that one, what I remember most about that one, and this was probably like, maybe I don't know if it was like 6 months after Jedi, or whatever. They showed the original Jabba scene.
Those are new titles.
Yes, you're right. Now you can't really see it too well, but
There's a man right
And
there.
there's an Animan.
and Hermie Odell on the left.
That's right.
there he
Yeah.
is.
Yeah, right there. Now to the left of Solo, there's a Tauntaun head as a trophy,
Really?
and to the right of Solo, there's a Jerba head,
What's a Jerba?
which I'll talk about later.
Okay, you're leaving me in suspense. Big shout out to Anthony Daniels.
Still going strong.
Still going strong.
There's another scene where he's walking around here being led by the Gamorrean guard that was cut out of the film, where he passes by what is supposed to be like a light creature, a creature that emits light. Never made it to the film.
Is it on the Blu-ray?
It's not on the Blu-ray, but there's pictures of an actor covered in light bulbs lit up, kind of like menacing him. Here's the torture
Is it
droid.
EV-99?
Yeah, one of them is EV-99. I forget the name of the other one, which we've talked about this before. I think it's like, can droids actually feel pain?
Well, they're making it seem like it.
That's what it looks
That's
like.
like the Gonk droid.
That's EV-99.
No.
brown
The
one.
white guy is
The white one
EV-99.
has got a different name, I believe.
No, he's EV-99. This guy, I don't know what his name is.
EV9 something.
It's not. Because I remember the figure.
This figure you probably never owned.
No, I don't think that was a
That's
figure.
that's one of the 17 last figures.
Was
Power
that
of the
like the
Force.
Power of the Force?
Impossible to find.
I have those.
Worth
you
hundreds of
bastard.
dollars.
Coins? Those are the ones with the coins,
coins.
right?
Yeah.
I have them in an Alexander shirt box. Hidden.
Check the name. These are all obviously animatronics. That droid in the background is from Star Wars.
Yes.
Walking in Tatooine.
He looks very Macquarie-ish,
Yeah, well,
the droid.
All right, so his name is EV-99.
yep.
Him?
Yes.
Yep, the
him.
brown one. The other one is just torture droid, I
What's
think.
the other one? Because that one was a figure.
Yes,
I
it
had
was.
the white
It was.
one.
Yes, you're right, but it's not EV-99.
All right, so here, this is the...
Yep.
I
Okay.
have these.
Find the other guy, Steve.
Okay, and what you were saying before is especially relevant to me about you were kind of on the tail end of
Yeah.
being into the toys.
Into the toys, yeah.
These were the only ones that are mint in the box because I had arrived at the point where I didn't want to play with the figures anymore. So I left. I never opened them.
Okay.
And then it turns out they're like one of the most rare that you can get. So
Yeah.
It worked out.
It's seriously.
All right, this scene is completely revamped up the
And
wazoo.
Completely unnecessary.
New music,
Completely unnecessary.
CGI characters, additional actors.
I miss Lopty Neck.
Yeah,
I do.
I miss Lopty Neck. I taped the video off MTV. What is that? Klaatu playing the friggin'
No, it's,
Barada.
It's like a...
Oh, okay. Well, it's the same species.
It was one of them. It was one of the Klaatu.
Barada?
Barada Nikto. Yes,
Nikto.
Barada.
One of those
Nikto. I think
guys.
he's Nikto.
Yeah, I'm not crazy about this.
And that, by the way, that is Jeremy Bulloch. But there are additional Boba Fett scenes in the special edition here that it's like, you know, Don Bice or something.
Dickie Beers is the stunt.
Dickie Beers is the
Dickie Bears.
stuntman
Yeah.
on the sail barge.
Yeah, and then there's the other guy. I forgot about him when I got them all to sign the figure.
Oh, well, John Morton, who played Dak, was Boba Fett, but not in Jedi. In Empire, he did Boba Fett in some of the Cloud City scenes. Now, also, Femi Taylor, this is her 15 years later.
Right, they actually brought her back to reshoot some of those
She
scenes.
looks damn good. She didn't change.
That's one thing I did notice when I met her was that she didn't really age.
Yeah.
Plus, she's wearing a lot of makeup and...
Right, but she's her figure. Her
Prosthetics,
figure
but, yeah.
is the same. Props to her for that.
Uh-oh.
And that's
Squid Head?
no, next to Squidhead, the guy with the snaggletooth, the furry dude. I can't. There, that guy.
Oh, yeah, I know what you're talking about. I forget
Yeah,
his
I
name, but
forget
he's
his
an action
name.
figure. I know these more as action figures. There's Reyes over there.
Yeah, Reese. Reese was one of my
They made
favorites.
him. I'm not sure if they made him.
But doesn't Reese have another name? No.
Well, his race has a name.
Yes,
But I think
that's not Jeremy Bulloch.
The action figure is Reyes.
Yes.
Your worshipfulness.
Your worshipfulness.
Now, the minute I saw Boosh, I said to myself, that's a woman walking. The way that they carry themselves.
Didn't both of us spoil Jedi with the storybook?
You might be right.
I had the storybook. So I got the storybook maybe about 3 weeks before the movie came out, so I knew everything.
Here's something interesting. Watch.
I love when he hits him.
Let me see if I can point it out to you. Behind Boosh, there's a character with white mustache. Long white mustache. Looks kind of piggy-ish. That's the same creature that they used as the cartoon or the animated version of Jabba for the Marvel comic when they didn't know what Jabba was going to look like.
Yes,
there
he is, right behind the girl.
That's the one they selected as let's make it
let's
that
make
one.
that one
because
Jabba.
We need to make it something.
Right, because that scene was in the comic.
Yes, and we talk about this also when we do our Marvel comic adaptation special. You'll hear all about that. They actually just made an action figure.
Right.
That's about to come out in a few months of that.
But I remember,
race.
I remember reading the comic, and I can't be positive if I saw A New Hope. I was 7 years old.
The comic came out 3 months before the movie. The three issues came out before and three after.
I think
right there it is.
Look at that. I'm almost positive that I read at least 2 issues of the comic before I saw the movie.
It makes sense.
And I remember the Jabba character, and I remember the scene not being in the movie.
Exactly. But at the time, they didn't know what to do because they had no character. They were going to substitute it afterwards with either stop motion or puppets or something, and they said, screw it. We're running out of money. Get rid of it.
Isn't that Nikto on the right?
Yeah, that's one of those guys.
And here we're going to see Billy D. Skiffguard.
Billy D.
Oh, yeah. Redeeming himself. Redeeming Lando.
That's right. But he's still a player.
He's a player.
Ouch.
Don't hate the player. Hate the game.
So any thoughts on the fact that you have Lucas, who, despite the fact that he is overseeing everything and trying to stay behind the scenes, has an influence over the directors?
He has that reputation, especially on these films, of kind of like a Stallone type of person, where he's not directly directing, but he is kind of
ghost directing.
Yeah.
Well, I think in the Rinsler book, don't they really make the case that as opposed to Irvin Kershner, who he gave a little bit more of a free hand to, it was kind of obvious that Richard Marquand was out of his depth.
Yeah.
And that Lucas had to come over to England and really, literally ghost direct him.
By the way,
Right.
Marquand also uncredited the voice of EV-99.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I
cool.
think you're right, yeah. Okay, left and right. There's the Tauntaun
Oh, I
head,
see
There's
it.
the
Yeah.
Tauntaun
and there's
head.
the Jerba.
Holy shiza.
The Jerba is this hairy cow pig looking thing that appeared on New Hope.
Is
And
that
you only
new,
s-
Carlos, or is this just like so?
It's clear so you can see it
clear,
now.
so you can see
It's
it.
not blurry anymore.
I never knew that. Now here's another thing too. Just while we defrost Han, 3 years back then might as well have been 13 years. Between the Empire and Jedi, I was just after the end of Empire, I'm like, you kidding me, right?
Yeah, it was tough.
And having to suffer through 3 years, and again, no internet, no spoilers, no hints, no whatever's.
Ooh, on the side of the helmet, you can see 1138.
Oh,
That's where they hit it on this one.
it was murderous waiting for this.
I always thought this was a cheesy effect, even though this has been cleaned up.
It has been cleaned up. Yeah.
Even in '83, I didn't like the way that the
I agree.
defrosting took place. It didn't seem very organic. But who cares? I love that anyway.
Oh yeah.
It was too much of an old school optical effect.
Now, Harrison Ford looks a little older to me here, even though it's only been 3 or 4 years
It might be a
for
little
movie time. I don't know.
He might be a little heavier. It's hard to say. What do you think? This Jedi is like 6 months
6
after
months,
Empire?
yeah, because Lando needed enough time to infiltrate and work there,
Right.
to establish his cover, if you will. See, she still looks good in '83.
83. At this point in the game, Carrie has completely abandoned the haughty princess accent,
Yes.
the faux British accent.
And I'm sure she's not taping them down anymore.
No, she's not taping them down, and she's kind of raspy from all the coke she's snorted in the intervening years. I like Reese has got his hand on
Yeah,
3PO's mouth.
Got a little sidetracked. There's the Jerba.
Watch Bib Fortuna. We just watch him in the
Look at
background.
it. You
He's
can
got
see
some
the-
great facial expressions.
He's reacting
Look.
weird.
Look, you can see the beads of sweat on
Han
Han's.
Solo, you never saw those before.
Look
at
at like, get going.
Hey, Rick James.
Yeah,
I'm Rick
really.
James, bitch.
Look at those guys.
Look
Those
at
are
those
new.
guys.
Those are new.
I'm gonna lick you now. Look at my snot and my.
I'm eating my own snot.
Well, what I was amazed about with that CBS special is when they showed like all the puppetry that was going into Jabba.
like
it was
4
like
people inside
It's
of him.
amazing.
And-
Yeah.
No, I think it was like 6 people
And including a little guy on the tail.
who was an Ewok.
He was
too.
like, eh.
Like if you want to get a signed Jabba picture, you got to get all
Yeah,
those
you
guys
need
on it.
quite a number of people. How about the voice of Jabba? Who did that?
I don't know. I should know that.
Now, it is rumored that this is the film where Harrison Ford wanted to be killed off.
Yeah, I don't think it's a rumor. I think he's kind of, he made the pitch that, it would. I mean, they did not have him under contract. They had
Exactly.
Mark and Carrie for 3 movies. They did not have him for Jedi. And I think it was sort of they played a little bit of a cat and mouse game with him towards the
I'm
beginning.
sure it
of-
was a negotiating tactic.
Yeah.
Till the last minute to get the most money
But
out
I
of it.
think if he had his druthers, he would have had Han killed.
Yes, yes.
Larry Ward, the voice of Jabba the Hutt.
Wow.
No,
I always liked his entrance.
this is a great
Yeah.
entrance.
He just like, boop, boop.
and I love seeing how much Luke has matured. I've made no secret of the
Yes.
fact Luke is my favorite character.
And he does change so much
Yeah.
physically. Look, there's a...
That's new.
From Phantom Menace.
Oh, is that not a Wada, was Sebulba?
Sebulba.
Whatever.
It's a
Sebulba.
What is it called?
I couldn't tell you.
Some of the G.
A Doug.
A Doug.
A Doug.
Larry Ward, by the way, was the voice of Greedo in the original Star Wars. Gunatuta solo.
Leia is wearing the infamous slave Leia.
That's why you need
costume.
the CAV. Freeze frame.
Freeze frame.
I don't think we need to freeze frame with Blu-ray. We'll see.
I will take
Your
you to
newfangled
Jabba now.
devices.
Yeah, there's nothing wrong with Laserdisc, right, Steve?
Nothing. Sounds better.
425 lines of resolution.
That's right,
It's
baby.
gorgeous.
Luke's come to rescue me. I like the fact that everybody naps together like a family.
They're all,
it's very
they
unusual.
party and then they're just, they're recovering.
I would love to know how and who takes care of Jabba's waste products, because he's obviously not leaving that dais.
His waste products.
So something underneath must be...
maybe underneath him is
the Rancor, it goes
is
down
open.
to the Rancor? To the Rancor?
They leave it open.
We should start a website just about that.
I'm sure the question has been asked. Now, there's Klaatu, but I don't know the guy next to Klaatu.
Well, the Klaatu here is a different Klaatu, obviously, than the one in Arizona.
Well, the actors are different.
The actors are different,
But
yes.
I'm saying the alien
It's the
next
same-
to him, I don't know who that is.
Yes.
I think most of the actors in the monsters are different. We just know the most famous of which is Corey D playing Klaatu in Arizona.
In Arizona.
But the British guy who plays him, he does conventions.
That's the guy who's in here.
Yes. If they're in the palace, they're in England.
In England.
If it's outside, they're in Arizona. And now there's a cut scene here, Carlos, right? With the Luke.
Yeah, there's supposed to be a scene where he jumps up in the air at some point and grabs onto the rail.
Well, you've seen it, right? I've seen it.
Yeah, we saw it on the tablet version of the Rinsler book.
That was like a black and white work print. Now, how do we feel about the Rancor?
I like the Rancor.
You like the Rancor?
Oh, yeah. I was fascinated by it. You know how many Lego pieces have been stuck in the Rancor that we have? It's very difficult to get pieces
The
out
Rancor
of this
is pretty good. It's funny because, again, we were talking about in a different commentary about Go Motion. I believe at one point they thought about doing Go Motion, but for whatever reason, again, this is 1982, around the time where Go Motion was bubbling up, and I think they decided against it. Originally, they wanted to make it like a Godzilla monster, a guy in a suit. I think Dennis Muren might be at one point modeling a suit, didn't work out. So they ended up with rod puppets.
Right.
Like Japanese rod puppet technology, and that's what they ended up using.
They did a segment on that. See, I never saw the Billy D. Williams documentary. I saw the Mark Hamill documentary, which I think is on the Blu-ray. And I think you saw Dennis Muren in the outfit.
Yeah.
The Rancor outfit.
The only problem I used to have with this, and I believe me, it's been cleaned up quite a lot. Right now, you can't see it. But there used to be such huge matte lines.
Yeah.
Between the black background and
This
the
used
monster.
to be a bad looking
Yeah,
scene.
it would look. The contrast was so different between the two things but this looks beautiful.
That looks pretty good
compared to what it used to be.
look. Yeah.
It used to look like a traditional stop motion. Right there, that would look so different. But they really cleaned the crap out of it.
Now you have to ask yourself the question. If Luke is able to use the Jedi mind trick on all these dimwits,
Can he use
it on the
animal?
Rancor to,
Well, I think the Rancor's too stupid.
Couldn't he use it on the Wampa?
right.
I think you have to have intelligence, I think. There's a certain level of intelligence to be able to control.
Well, what about Episode 2, Attack of the Clones, where Anakin is controlling the animals that they're riding on?
That's right. Steve brought up a good point.
You know what I mean? In the end, when they're going to be killed?
In the arena?
Before Mace Windu shows up
Look
and
at
goes
that.
crazy?
You see that foot?
Yeah.
That foot to me looked completely new.
It did.
It looks so clean.
But no, there's a
And that's one of the biggest problems is it's hard to determine sometimes what is brand new, brand spanking new, and what has been cleaned up to look new.
Yeah.
Like, I can't tell the difference sometimes. Now, remember, we have to assume that we believe Luke that this is all part of his plan,
Right.
in order to get them purposely executed outside of the castle of the
right.
the
He
palace.
seems to be of the opinion that they're if why couldn't Jabba just execute them right then and there?
Yeah. How can you take that risk? Obviously, if you go frame by frame here, there's plenty of characters they have not turned into action figures, and Hasbro is aware of this. Rancor Keeper, everybody laughed at this part, I remember.
I had the Rancor Keeper figure.
By the way, the lead flute player
There's a man
in Max Rebo's band, that was Deep Roy,
Yes.
uncredited.
Ha!
Yeah, wasn't he Max Rebo? No. Was he?
Well, Deep Roy was Yoda in Empire. The walking shots.
Or was he? The flute player. It was Max Rebo, Cy Snoodles, and who the hell's the other one?
Something McClue.
Droopy McCool.
Droopy
that's
McCool. Yeah.
That's Deep Roy.
Mm-hmm.
That thing is a
What
creature.
the hell is that?
It's like a big tongue hanging from the wall.
the drool coming down from Reeves. Is that new, Carlos, or is that just never in the frame before?
Frame and cleaned up. Steve, can you turn off that light? There's a snot flying. More characters in the background they could turn to action figures. Look at that. You can see under his... ooh, this is brand new.
Yeah,
the Bantha Herd.
Bantha Herd.
Now, was this... Maybe, I don't know. Maybe it was on the special edition. I don't remember now. Again, they've made so many of them.
The
that it's
Bantha Herd,
so
I'm
hard.
pretty sure, was in the 97
Possible.
version.
Obviously, all the shadows you see are redone. I think the shadows, they redo them every time.
Yeah.
And the original shadows were so harsh. Yeah. They were like animation blurps, like
The
blocks.
The land speeder one was particularly awful.
And they would shake, I remember. They would kind of like shimmer. Because they were just animation. That's all it was. Just plain and simple animation.
Did they ever make a skiff toy? They did, right?
Yes.
That was tough to find.
It
for
was
some
one of the
reason.
last toys they made, was a skiff. This still has the problems. Look at the hair.
Yeah, I
on
see the
Chewie.
green.
The green screen bleed. Which I thought they were doing blue screen back then. But for some reason, the green keeps bleeding in his hair. Everybody's hair keeps bleeding.
And what is that? Is that like his juices?
It's his Cosmo.
I was gonna say.
I don't think they ever made a figure out of that guy.
Didn't they make a sail barge R2D2 like with all the?
Yeah, an action figure, yes.
Yeah.
But new, not original.
Yeah, not original.
Oh, not original.
Not-
No, it was
not
Power of the
Kenner.
Force, the new Power of the
Yeah,
Force, right?
the Hasbro ones, I think.
Yeah.
There's some added Sarlacc.
Sarlacc tentacles.
That's all.
That's all new.
That's special edition.
I was okay with that.
Now, which one is Barada? Is that Barada on
That's
the left?
Weekway.
Well, Weekway is the race, I think.
No, it's Weekway is the name, or at least it was the name of the figure. I don't think it's the name of the race.
Yeah, that's the problem. Yeah, that's the problem.
That was when Kenner put it out. It was Weekway, Nikto.
That's all.
Nikto on the left.
Now, originally, I believe when McQuarrie had the concept drawings of this, there were supposed to be two huge sail barges and the little ships, but then obviously construction costs they're like, okay, let's make it one.
I love this scene.
It's all part of the plan. Trust me, it's all part of the plan.
Well, this is what
Barada is the guy in the back. The guy
Yes.
right in the middle. Not him, the other
Not
guy.
him. What I love about
That's that guy?
That's Nick too
That's
back there
Nikto.
in the back with the horns.
Which one is Barada?
You missed him. He has a bandana around his head, I think, a red bandana. I'll point them out to you right there. Red pants.
That's Dickie Bear.
Boom.
Luke's green lightsaber.
So in the theatrical version, obviously, this is when we first see the lightsaber. And I guess they didn't want to show it to us earlier when he was building it.
Right. Look at that. There's like
there's
Jabba
a mural. Yeah.
There's the scream.
Wilhelm scream.
I have to say, though, after the long wait, this was pretty damn good.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
It's like, wow, this was worth the wait.
There's right there. When he hangs,
Is that
it's
Corey?
his son.
That's
Corey. Corey D. Williams. My Facebook friend.
Yes. Oh, see Chewie's blood there.
Well, he's supposed to get injured.
Right.
Which leads to the... you see that? I've never seen that before.
I love it. You only now, just for the briefest glimpses, are you getting... that's the first time you ever hear Boba Fett's name uttered in a movie.
Yeah.
And you're seeing like what his suit can do.
Now, this was disappointing to a lot of fans.
Oh, yeah.
He dies like a chump.
That was disappointing.
Remember, there are reports that Lucas claims now that he probably didn't die.
Well, we'll see soon enough, possibly.
And this is my first time watching this Blu-ray, by the way, so I am noticing
really?
things for the first time.
Oh, jeez. This is probably like my third viewing of it. There are a couple of Wilhelms.
That's Barada.
Got it.
You go, Leia.
Tick, 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 tick. I always found as even more disgusting those little suction cuppy things that Jabba has on his tail, like on his underbelly. It's like some kind of fungal thing growing there.
Repulsive.
Yeah, his hair is just.
I love Billy D's little shriek when the tentacle goes around.
Yeah.
Luke is just kicking ass in this.
There goes Barada.
He's like in full-on Jedi mode.
He is. I love it. Because, Luke for so long was this, like, petulant little bitch. And, now he's,
I still have this coloring book. The Jedi coloring book.
Ugh.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah. Because there's a lot of, like, this stuff in here. They grabbed these
Come on,
shots.
Klaatu. Here's Klaatu. And I don't think we see Klaatu die, so he could make it to the next film, as far as I'm concerned.
I know you're hoping.
I'm lobbying for Klaatu to return. Boop boop boop.
Yeah, this is a great way to begin the movie.
Well, it's action.
I know, but it's so great to see them. You know what? It's so great to see them all together.
Yeah.
After Empire, they're
Klaatu.
separated. And again, I just love. I keep harping on it, but
Klaatu's retreating.
I love to see Luke. Just his executing this plan flawlessly.
Ouch.
Yeah.
It's great.
Yeah, we did that on purpose.
He did. Famous shot.
Here's the shot you need to freeze frame and look for treasures.
For her hiney.
Well, anything at this point. This is miniature heaven.
Yeah.
I think they shot the explosion on the roof of ILM.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah?
This still looks a little weird. The line, it's... They couldn't fix that too much.
And we're coming up on where we would have a deleted scene right in the middle of this cut.
Yeah, this should lead to the sandstorm scene where they all say goodbye and they depart, which ends into just departing straight out.
Which was actually the first scene shot for Return of the Jedi.
Exactly. It was the first sequence. Yeah, you're right. I believe they did a lot of color correction here because on a lot of these shots where R2 is in space, the blue comes out as black almost. So, because of the blue screen problem. So they ended up digitally later on retouching the blues.
So, Steve, did you have a hard time getting the Power of the Force figures? Did you?
No, I got him for Christmas.
Oh, so your mom?
Yeah. My mom is the original toy hunter.
She's something.
She would, you know,
look at that.
get buddy with the guy at the local toy store. You know,
Look back there, guys. Quick. Probe droid, 3:00. Next to all the R2 units.
Yes.
You can see them later passing by on a close-up.
That's a pisser.
But that's the only one of the few times you actually see the actual size. Look at the difference in colors between the white and the grays in the back, especially with all those matte shots. But it's one of the few times you actually see a probe droid in comparison to a human being size.
Yes.
It's a small droid, really. It's not as huge as I thought it used to be on Empire.
Here's the man, Ian McDiarmid.
He is awesome.
Totally awesome.
Which obviously is not the same actor from Empire, even though in Empire they replaced.
That was Clive Revell,
Right.
who was later dubbed, much later, by Ian McDiarmid.
Later.
But the fact that they were able to get him for the prequels,
That's
and
amazing.
the fact that he looks younger, you know what I mean?
But the timing was perfect.
Yes.
His aging process was perfect.
Yep.
In a way, hopefully, like now with Luke being old enough, Mark Hamill,
See
to
the Biker
be
Scouts?
an
Yes.
older, actor acting as himself.
Mm-hmm.
And you get to see the Royal Guards here for the first time, which are really cool, mysterious.
Yeah, I always loved the
What
Royal
the hell are
Guards.
they all about type of characters, which they really didn't develop much in the movie.
Not
in the
at all.
deleted scenes,
And
there
also
are
the Emperor's advisors.
the dignitaries, those weirdos back there. Which you figure by this point he doesn't give a crap about anybody's opinion anymore.
Okay, here's the I'm basically a lying sack of shit scene.
Well, it's from a certain point of view, Steve. Look how much they cleaned up the house. Everything is so clean.
See, here's the thing, in terms of, you talk about wrap up, I was a little disappointed that it was like, okay, you're a Jedi, and your sister is Leia, and blah, 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 and your father he is, and, I know it's like, connecting it with the Alec Guinness scene, it's like, I don't know.
I am amazed at the quality of the cleanup.
Yes.
And I don't think they digitally re-cleaned it again. I think this is just because it's Blu-ray.
Carlos, do you also want to mention the edit droid Laserdisc that was leaked?
Oh my
the
God!
Yoda, with the
apparently
raw footage.
Somebody bought at an auction or something a disc,
A laser disc
of this edit droid machine that it was an earlier nonlinear system that Lucas was, I guess, shopping around and trying to sell or whatever. But they were giving away at the time deleted scenes from Jedi as stock to be able to play with the footage.
Wow.
And somebody got one and posted it all on the internet. Mm-hmm. They posted it in little tiny sections.
And there's important dialogue.
Yeah, there's a lot of outtakes of this right here, and
mostly
parts.
this.
Is it still out there, or they pulled it down?
It's
No,
all
I
on
think
the
it's still
internet.
out there,
It's on the
yeah.
internet.
I think you can find it on YouTube.
On the deep web.
And
Look at the hair.
Yoda,
Jesus.
what is Yoda? There's a line on the edit droid where Yoda says something about, I don't know. It was a big line. It was. I can't remember.
Well,
It's
you
killing
got to
me.
remember that obviously they try on different iterations of the lines, and they might. I don't know if they.
But
even ad-libbed some of
it was a more revealing line about
Oh, okay.
Ben or something. Let me see if I can find it.
One of the things I always wondered about, and even in Jedi, you don't know for sure, and that is when Jedis die, and I'm not talking about prequel Jedi, because prequel Jedis die like there's no tomorrow in terms of, boom, he's dead, great. But these new Jedis, I'm talking about Ben and Yoda, do they decide the point of their death, and internally disappear as they're dying? Or do they die and then disappear? Because my question then becomes...
Well, didn't they establish in episode 3 that Qui-Gon was the first Jedi who had mastered this whole...
The midichlorians.
not
to be able to communicate.
To commune beyond death.
Yeah, but yes, you're right. But Qui-Gon did not die in the manner. He apparently figured it out once he was on the after...
He didn't disappear.
Right. So my question is, this ability to disappear now, that Ben had, because we saw him disappear in New Hope, and now Yoda will disappear. My question is, are they willing the disappearing, or is the disappearing a natural phenomenon for them now because it's kind of like a new power they have?
Or something that once Ben learned how to do it. Well, actually,
my main question comes because of Star Wars, because of New Hope, and that is Vader slashes at Ben, and we get the impression that as he's slashing,
he just crumples.
Ben's gone already. He's slashing at an empty cape.
Yeah.
My question is he slashing at an empty cape because special effects were not good enough to show him slashing through a body, or is Ben actually able to disappear?
No, I think he's able
at will.
I think he's able to transform into another state of being.
Because Ben
like
knows
Yoda
what's going to happen.
Yeah.
He's like, I will only become more powerful if you strike me down.
But here's my question: does Ben disappear before he's struck?
No, as he's being struck, he is making himself disappear.
Right, because he's willing himself to die.
Because he feels like he can help Luke better.
This is a good place to die right now. Okay.
I'm old enough now. I'll check out now.
Now Yoda, on the other hand, nobody's obviously holding an axe over his head, but he's just old and feeble and dying.
Yeah, physically, you just can't make it anymore.
And he doesn't have to trigger the disappearance in a hurry, but he is able to die in a more natural or new natural way for the Jedi to die, and that is, as you're dying, you slowly fade away.
Here it is,
dramatically.
Here it is. I wanted to mention. It's a long forgotten deleted scene from Return of the Jedi reveals that Obi-Wan Kenobi wanted to tell Luke Skywalker the truth about his dad, but Yoda would not allow it. And I remember that line in the edit droid Laserdisc. Yoda says, "No, I did not." So
blame it on Yoda.
Yeah, the money quote. Obi-Wan would never.
Okay.
Obi-Wan would have told you long ago.
He's dead,
and he fades away.
And he's gonna fade.
Yeah, here's the line. Obi-Wan would have told you long ago had I let him. Now a great weakness you carry, fear for you I do. So Obi-Wan at least argued in favor of being honest with Luke rather than hide the truth about Darth Vader as Yoda wanted.
And there's the natural death. The new natural death of a Jedi. Okay, cool. That means Ben had the capabilities of speeding that up. Of dying and speeding up everything. Again, we're in super geek territory.
No, just
here.
at the moment of death, changing. Regardless of you're old or you're dying in battle.
Right, but what I'm saying is the lightsaber's coming towards him. Lightsaber's about to hit him. Before the lightsaber hits him, he's disappeared already. He didn't die of natural causes. He willed himself to die and disappear to make a fool out of Vader in a way.
Now, in the trailer, you can see Alec Guinness
without the effect.
Without
the sparkly glow.
Because in Empire, he's doing it against like a black sheet.
Yes.
But on Jedi, he's on location. He's on the set. Yes. Also, we can get into this later, but I remember from the Winslet book, he had a much bigger role in this. Ben and Yoda had a role that. Remember in a draft of the screenplay that when the Emperor's was on the volcanic planet,
they're both going to fight him as ghosts.
Right.
I also remember a lot of people were speculating that because on the trailer you didn't see the sparkly glowy on Ben, that Ben was back as a form, as a physical form, but it was just that the effects weren't completed.
And it was funny, the. At least with Empire, I don't remember with Jedi, but it was very, very last minute that Lucas was going to get Alec Guinness to just do the cameo.
Well, it was one of these things where you had to hunt him down and beg him and plead, and Guinness later on put on his whole story about how they gypped him out of some of the profits and yada yada
yada.
Guinness
made more money from this. I mean, he made an insane amount of money with just the deal that he had from A New Hope.
The percentage.
I forget what the number was, but it made him an extremely rich man
who
never had to work again.
But we did see in an interview that was recorded somewhere in the 70s or 80s, I guess, where he was complaining about that. He was promised 4.5 and he got 4.25, so they gypped him out of a quarter of a percentage point.
I understand him feeling that, like, I was the guy in Lawrence of Arabia. I was the guy in Bridge on the River Kwai. I was the guy in all the David Lean movies. And now they remember me as this. I mean, yeah, I get it. But still, I mean, this is nothing to be embarrassed about. I mean, but he, he thought the lines were gibberish and gobbledygook and... But you know what? It beats Murder by Death.
Yeah.
He was in a lot of shit, too.
Okay, so now Luke has a sister.
Yeah, if it's anything that bothers me, is in terms of laziness, it's Leia being the sister.
Well, let me ask you a
Because
question.
you're resolving... Yeah, there is another... It's resolving the love triangle in a neat little bow.
Right. But let me ask you a question. Obviously, there's no hint of sister in Star Wars.
Or Empire.
In Empire, there is another. Do you think the other was a sister or just another Jedi?
I thought it was another Jedi. I thought it was... There was the FX7 on the left. I thought it was...
It couldn't have been Leia. Otherwise, they wouldn't have let them kiss.
You're right.
I mean, that would have been
not
weird.
in Star
They
Wars.
kissed twice.
She kisses him on the mouth when he's in the medical
Yeah.
frigate at the end.
So who would you think could have been another Jedi?
I mean, the Falcon.
Wasn't there speculation? This is like a bunch of prune faces.
There's the
over
prune
there.
face crew.
Yeah. I always used to think that the prune face was a Jabba guy.
Mon
not
Mothma, I met her too.
Caroline Blakiston. Or Blakeston. And the guy who plays General Nadine is Dermot Crowley, but he's dubbed in this.
Another terrible hairdo on General Nadine.
A huge advancement in graphics as far as the original plan of attack, and now it's a three-dimensional looking graphic.
Medical droid.
Mon
Take care,
Mothma
sir.
was in Revenge of the Sith, but didn't they cut all the scenes with Mon Mothma?
Yes, but obviously not this actress.
No, not this
A different
actress. Yeah, but
there
there he is. There he is.
It's a trap.
I can't withstand a force of that magnitude.
Red Lobster, I'm buying. I like the breaths.
Of Endor. But yeah, I mean, just to get back to Leia being his sister, I had heard, and I don't know if I'm just like making this up because it was 30 plus years ago, but that there was a female, that the Jedi was going to be female, and that the Jedi, and this is all before, Jedis were monks, that this would be a love interest for Luke, because Leia was going to go with Hutt.
Well, we're never going to learn when they pulled the trigger on that.
The General Nadine figure came with that little white
With the little white
pointer.
stick. Yes, there's Wedge.
Wedge.
Dennis Lawson.
Who will have nothing
look
to
at
do with
that
Star
hairdo.
Wars
Come on.
nowadays.
He's a good actor, too.
He is. I just recently saw him in something. He was pretty good.
He does tons and tons of British television. He's, what is he? Ewan McGregor is his nephew?
Yes. Leia's new hairdo.
See, Han's still kind of twitchy about Luke. Stop touching my woman.
Han's shirts go from white to tan to white to tan. All right, this is an excellent shot. There's so much stuff happening.
A-wing, Y-wing. What else we got in there?
There's little clusters of live action mixed with matte paintings. This shot you see back here, I never liked. The next one.
Yeah, I know.
The next point of view. No, not that one. The next one.
There's also another.
There.
No.
There's
isn't it when Lando and Han are in the same shot?
There. That's a big old matte
terrible.
painting. But I
That is
think you
terrible.
will see in the background walking some cameos, I think. Or was that on... Well, there's a B-Wing over there, you see. A B-Wing cockpit. Again, the B-Wing cockpit, I think I might have mentioned once before, was one of the original designs of the Falcon where the entire ship can circle around the cockpit.
Right around itself.
And obviously in 76, they couldn't pull that off. So by the time they got to Jedi, they figured out how to do it. The biggest problem
You
with...
can see Prune Face all the way in the back.
But By the way, the one thing that struck me, the prune face figure and the Luke figure had actual cloth cloaks with the hoods.
Yes, you're right. A number of them
was
had
awesome.
that.
And they had real lightsabers. It didn't come out from the forearm.
Yep. Wasn't there also a draft, Carlos, where
yes, well, in Empire they already went with the handheld. Say again.
That Lando was killed?
Yes, there is something.
Destroyed?
Yeah, there is a theory also out there that the Falcon never makes it out of the Death Star. The pickle ship.
I'm a little disappointed, unless it's a secret that we're not privy to.
There's the Tantive 4 model ship, the Corellian Corvette, I think they called it originally, because that was the original Millennium Falcon. Also, once again, the shape of the ship.
I was bummed that Billy D is not in Episode 7.
He's going to show up sooner or later, I guarantee it.
So,
yeah. Yes, definite. That's the Emperor's Tower, I guess.
Which, why would he have a tower sticking out it's like, just shoot that.
Right, shoot me, I'm here.
Because he's so full of himself that he has to be above everyone. That theory, I
But
guess.
I'm saying it's vulnerable.
Yeah, of course. There's the dignitaries that really got nowhere. We already know what the... Mm-hmm. Are they like witches? Or?
And they were figures, right?
They made one originally, a dignitary, a purple one.
Mm-hmm.
Again, very hard to find, very expensive.
I have that one.
I don't doubt it.
I'm telling you, someday you guys are going to show up and have them all laid out.
You should. I would totally.
The one on the right is the one they made the figure out of.
Are you guys going to make out? What the hell?
I love this ship. This was just cool looking ship.
Oh, I wanted it, but it was so expensive.
The Shuttle Tidarian, yeah.
Remember? Because they made one.
Yeah, it's huge.
Yeah, it's gigantic.
Yep.
Yeah.
It was one of the last ones.
Did it have a handle on the bottom? So you could...
grab it?
You might be right.
Like
and the handle might have been the landing ramp also.
Yeah.
Landing foot.
Mm-hmm.
There's Ken Colley, Admiral Piet, only survivor of Empire Strikes Back. Well, not only survivor, but...
And that ship, the Executor, I think it's called.
Yes, the Executor.
That made it also through Empire. That was Vader's ship, obviously.
I think Ken Colley said he worked like a day on Jedi.
Is it me or is the picture a little soft now?
It does look a little soft.
Those front shots.
Yeah.
Fly casual.
I was about to clear them.
Boop, 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 boop.
That sounds like Harrison Ford.
Obviously, Vader's helmet looks different in every movie. This one, he looks the shiniest, cleanest of all.
Yeah.
And the eyes are super black. You cannot see into his head like you can on some of the other movies, where the eyelets, the eyepieces almost look red sometimes.
I got to tell you, I'm surprised that Dave Prowse was allowed to play Vader in Jedi, because by this time he had already had a bad reputation.
Yes.
And the fact that they let him, because he was bitching about anything and everything, and they still let him do Vader and Jedi. But as we all know, he's been banned from conventions. Okay.
No problem. It's going to work. Wow, you see
Now,
so much more
here's
detail.
I have another question, unrelated to Jedi, obviously, but at the end of Revenge of the Sith, they're building the Death Star. You mean to tell me it took them 20 years to build the damn thing, whereas this Death Star they can build in like 5 minutes?
I don't know if the theory was that they were building two at the same time.
Already.
And there was a backup hidden somewhere else.
Okay.
Because, this took place 6 months after Empire. And Empire takes place, what, a year or two?
Maybe at the most a year from A New Hope.
So, no, you cannot go from 15 years
and
to
I think
2 years.
it was just a cool shot, like, oh, let's show this, But you have a young Tarkin there at the end, too.
Yeah.
Hey, it's me.
I like the Scout Trooper design.
Yeah, me too. Yeah, there's a couple of scenes where it's fuzzy.
Yeah, you're right. That's what I'm like. Well, that looks. Some look so sharp and some don't look so sharp. Snap. There it is. Oh, you go. You almost could see his eyes through the visor.
Now, do you think the speeder bike chase holds up visually?
Yeah, to me it does. I mean, let's go through it and see if I change my mind.
If you wanted to learn how to build one, I have the.
That's great.
My T-shirt has the technical readouts of the speeder bike.
That's great. Awesome.
Shot in Redwood National Park, California.
Again, half of this effect is the sound. The great sounds. I guess this is Ben Bird and his team. It's amazing what they did. And the funny thing is that some of these sounds, if you guys watch Rebels now, they show up a lot. When they're doing Rebels, they do sample a lot of traditional Star Wars sounds. And I remember they had an episode where they had a biker chase, and you could hear these bikes. You could hear them. It's amazing.
How is Rebels? You enjoying it?
I'm enjoying it. I'm enjoying it more for the look and the sounds than the story so far.
I mean, it doesn't like in the foreground. Luke and Leia look pretty good, but in the background, like whatever's in the back, like the biker scouts look bad.
Well, if the bikers are tiny, they're usually like go motion or stop motion.
Yeah.
I believe they might have used one of those techniques for them for the long shots.
Yeah.
And same thing for like for Leia, they do have also stop motion versions of them too for when they're far away.
Yes.
Like that's a stop motion right there, that move.
So we were talking before about Marquand. Can you imagine what this would have been like if David Lynch directed?
No. Because I don't like David Lynch. I'm not a fan. I do like a very select few of his movies. No.
Well, David Lynch is not the type of director, I think.
Yeah.
Now or even before that, he could just be a hired gun. If he makes a movie, it's his movie.
Yeah.
So he puts his... after 2 or 3 dailies, Lucas probably would have fired him.
Yeah. What about David Cronenberg? Because he was also weird.
Yeah. Lucas, he had a prior relationship with Irvin Kershner. If they didn't, I can't imagine him choosing him. And he gave Kershner a little bit of latitude, but he didn't give Marquand any, I think that he was getting the reports back that, he was falling behind schedule.
The Rinsler book tries to be very political and very... They try to play down a lot what happened with Marquand.
Marquand. You know what? This is also worth a good time to mention to your buddy Charles Lippincott.
Yeah,
and tell us about him.
Well, granted, first of all, Lippincott had nothing to do with this film because he kind of left Star Wars after Star Wars.
Right, but
he never even made it to Jedi.
But his
thing was that he was the marketing director and the promotions the vice president and blah, blah, blah. Everything having to do with publicity and marketing of the film and merchandising.
Right.
And he has tons of stories that you're never going to hear or read on any official Lucas endorsed book. Even the Rinsler books, which I absolutely love. I love those books. They're so full of information. It's basically, how the sausage is made. It's the ugliness, the things that you really don't want to air out your dirty laundry, the arguments, the fights, the lawsuits, the disagreements.
And he's dropping it all.
He's just unloading everything he has in his head.
And he got into a little exchange with the woman who did the
oh my god,
logo?
yes, just the logo, just the fact that some people were arguing over who designed one particular logo that obviously never was in the film. This was early publicity logos of when it was called The Star Wars. And I would recommend anybody who has access to Facebook go and friend Charles Lippincott, because these stories are amazing.
They're priceless.
They're completely amazing stories, and
he's got the documentation to back it up.
Yeah, and he's posting documents. He's posting pictures, stuff that's been stored away on his file cabinets for years.
Oh boy!
Oh, there we go. There's a newbie right there.
Played by Carlos and my buddy Warwick Davis.
My buddy too. I met him.
You did?
I met him at Chiller in New Jersey.
Oh.
Signed a picture for me. Have a picture with him.
Well, you guys noticed what
I did
just
not
happened.
interview him, but I did meet him.
You guys noticed what just happened, something we hadn't seen before.
God, the eyeballs.
The blinking.
The blinking.
For the Blu-ray, they made the Ewoks blink.
Let's talk about the Ewoks. What do we think?
Well,
what did we think then? What do we think now?
I didn't have a problem with them then. I think in retrospect, that's where the objections kind of come to light, especially when you know that it was a change, that they were going to be Wookiees. And then when you see years later what Kashyyyk could be like and how the story could have been even more serious. You know what I mean? So you still have the warm and fuzzy with a Wookiee, but they're intense creatures.
Warriors.
The thing with George apparently is that he's a child of the 60s. And in his storytelling, it's a lot about the little guy fighting the big guy. You know, the Vietnam War is still in his head.
Yes.
The natives fighting the super advanced military that should not beat them. And that's how he kind of envisioned the Ewoks, this backwards race of little teddy bears that actually can take down the Empire. That was apparently the motivation behind the dynamic of having something weird fighting something that should be overwhelming.
Physically small.
Right. Now, the final look of the Ewoks, this went through a lot of different changes. And one of the original versions of the Ewoks was that they were supposed to look very different, and they were supposed to also ride, apparently, these large other creatures, I believe, called the Yuzums.
They were Yuzums? The Yuzums are everywhere.
Yeah, and they would ride them, and the Yuzums were almost like giraffes in terms of very long legs but very short bodies. And they then decided against it, and part of it might have been because of the movie The Dark Crystal, which Gary Kurtz left Star Wars to do. And if you remember, Dark Crystal has the Gelflings or the
sexies,
whatever, the hero creatures. They were riding these very long-legged. So it might have been one of these, let's not repeat ourselves, let's not get accused of stealing, because people are stealing from Star Wars, let's not steal from someone else. So they ditched that entire idea and said, screw it.
You're right, Steve.
His voice.
Just make it cute little characters, and that's what they ended up with the Ewoks.
And you know it's funny, because you can make the argument, like I'm gonna say it again. I agree with Steve. Like when the movie came out, and for years and years afterwards, I never had a problem with the Ewoks. I had no problem. I mean, I was 13 by this time, but I don't know if it's retroactively now that people our age are saying, "Oh, the Ewoks are lame and stupid and kitty."
Well, I think after Jar Jar, people even say it more.
Well, the thing is now, I'm wondering. I try to put myself like, would I, if I were 10, would I like Jar Jar? Would I have a problem with Jar Jar? Or would I have a problem with some of the stupidity in the prequels? What I consider to be stupidity in the prequels? I don't know, like, if Carlos, your kids are older than Steve's. I don't know, like, how your kids feel.
They don't have the Jar Jar hatred that we do. That most adults have. The other thing about Ewoks to keep in mind, which is a little bit similar to the Jabba creatures, is that a lot of people also accuse Lucas of being influenced too much by the toy manufacturers and pressuring him to give me something cute, give me some creatures, give me some costumes for Halloween, give us more action figures, give us something we can sell to girls. And that's, and I'm certain that he was under a lot of pressure from all his licenses begging him for material. The question is, did he do it just for that, or did he do it for his story? Well, and that you're never going to get a clear evaluation.
I think I would chalk it up to the fact that he was overextended throughout the entire process, especially. All right, so here he is. He has all this pressure, right?
And his marriage is falling apart.
His marriage is falling apart
yeah.
at the same time. I mean, the guy is essentially co-directing the film also.
Basically.
Right.
And knowing that, going into that, I'm sure that added to it. But just getting back to that whole David and Goliath conversation, they could have easily done it with the Wookiees.
Yeah.
Primitive versus technology.
Yeah.
And a story.
Right.
So to think that he wasn't being influenced in that way, or wasn't just kind of saying, you know what, I just don't want to go there. Let me just make it friendly for everybody because it's just too much. There's too much stuff going on.
I just thought of something else too. Would it? And this is speculation on my part, but they showed the Wookiees in the holiday special.
Mm-hmm.
Would that have been like, oh, we can't do the Wookiees?
Canon problems?
Not canon problems, but like the holiday special is horrible. Lucas disowned it, hates it, wants to destroy it. And, granted, it wasn't on YouTube. There was no internet.
Yeah.
It hadn't proliferated yet. But yet people still knew it, remembered it,
I don't know if we can blame... First of all, I don't know why they shied away from the Wookiee idea. And I don't know if you can just blame the holiday special for it. I don't think people gave a crap about the holiday special, and people still don't give a crap about the holiday special. It didn't put the kibosh on things because it was used on the holiday special.
Okay.
In other words, the holiday special had Boba Fett, and they still use Boba Fett later on.
True.
And Boba Fett's a great character. I doubt it.
Okay.
Well, one other factor could have been the fact that, Wookiees are tall, right? And most things in Hollywood are small. Good portion of actors and actresses are smaller because you don't need to make the sets as big.
It's easier to find a bunch of little people than it is to find a bunch of people as tall as Peter.
Not
Mayhew.
only that, but
Right.
you can't sell... Chewbacca is a large, menacing bear, dog, lion thing.
But he's a hero.
To make him cute, it would have to be an army of children.
I'm just saying, you didn't...
He needed an army of full adults that were that size in adult form. In other words, you couldn't have an army of Wookiee children. Because how do you explain Chewbacca's huge? So you never have the little guy versus the big guy if you're fighting a whole bunch of Chewbaccas.
So you're saying you want it to be literal. You want it to be little guy physically. I mean, that really brings home the symbolism.
Yes. These are not children Ewoks. These are not child. These are
children
fully
are
grown,
really tiny. Yeah,
warrior Ewoks, but they are supposed to be a joke visually, and they're not. To me, they still kind of look like a little bit of a joke.
On the left, is that Low Gray?
Oh my God, there's so many of them. Mike, that might be Low Gray, the guy with the skull on his head.
Because I think I had the Low Gray figure. I had Wicket, and I think it was Chief Chirpa.
Chief Chirpa,
yeah.
But then with the Power of the Force, you had Lumat,
yeah,
Roomba,
those ones I don't know.
And there was another one, I forget the name.
Okay, yeah. Once you get into those guys, I have no idea.
You got to remember, the Power of the Force line, which is the final line of Star Wars figures, which normally you would have figured were all Jedi figures. No, by the time they got to the Power of the Force, they were doing like best of.
Right,
Not only they were doing current.
Oh, really?
So they were tapping into Star Wars figures. They made a Luke, Stormtrooper Luke.
Oh.
They made,
Yeah.
like I said, a couple of... They were trying to stir the line into like a best of line, but they never got off that first year. They never got past it.
It just went...
Right, Han and Carbonite that you could remove.
Right, that was the Jedi one.
See, now the only hand... I had the hand in Carbonite. It wasn't even a figure.
From
it was
Slave One.
Right.
Yeah.
It's from Slave One.
Hollow plastic.
Yep.
But what would have probably happened on future lines, you might have seen a Tarkin.
Right, you
might
never
have
had
seen-
Tarkin.
you might
Of
have
all
seen,
the characters. You never had Tarkin.
You might have seen a slave Leia. You might have seen all these figures that were never made because they never had the time at that point.
Well, just getting back to the speeder bike scene, which I had forgotten. So that was accomplished using a Steadicam. And the guy who invented the Steadicam, Garrett Brown, personally shot the Steadicam footage in this film.
Okay.
They just walked through the forest.
They just walked
take
through the
pictures.
forest, yeah.
Took them a long time, but that's how they figured out how to do it.
2 weeks.
To
Holy
replicate the
cow.
speed.
Lucas and his obsession with speed.
Well, it almost got him killed when he was
It
young.
almost got him killed, yeah. Now we're back in Elstree, right?
L Street, and obviously matte paintings up the
Yeah.
wazoo. And again, the film kind of takes a because of the nature of these characters,
3
it's
days,
a slightly,
not 2 weeks.
I don't want to say comedic, but a very light tone.
It gets goofy, yeah. It gets goofy.
They're acting weird and everybody's reacting weirdly to them and they're cute. And
What's up with 3PO's leg? Is that from Cloud City?
Oh, the different color leg?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think by the time you get to the second film, or part of the first film, I think there's some leg swaps going on around. He has a silver one, I think, from the knee down.
Maybe that was from Chewie rebuilding him.
It's possible. There's the baby Ewok.
Baby Ewok.
No.
That's Lumat, I think.
No, isn't that Chief Chirpa?
No, Chief Chirpa has a hood and is a little round guy, brown. Lord Grey.
Logray. That's
Logray. That's the medicine man.
Yes.
The shaman.
That's Mike Edmonds. The actor was Mike Edmonds.
Right. And what's his face? Even Kenny Baker played an Ewok.
He did, yes.
He also had a dual role.
Wasn't Kenny Baker supposed to be Wicket, and he got sick?
You might be right.
I think he got sick.
You might be right. And then they had to contact Warwick Davis. But then he ended up playing an Ewok anyway. When
he played a lower tier Ewok.
He was either the hang gliding Ewok or the one that steals the bike. Mm-hmm. One of those two. I'm not sure which one. And apparently, again, legend has it that all the little people were some major party animals back when they were having all this going on, and they used to have people, wranglers almost, who would kind of have to bring
loaded.
them. They were drinking and having fun, and they would have to get them back in the set because it was time to work, and they couldn't find half of them or anything like that. There's a couple of documentaries out. Fan-made documentaries, and one of them, I believe, they go to this location to kind of see if they can find like any leftover
beer cans.
Sets. Well, not so much that, but like the bunker and the trees and this and that, and they were able to recreate some of them. And there's apparently nearby in that town, like either a restaurant or a little shopping store where they have lots of props from the movie that were left over, and people apparently go there every now and then, similar to some people go to Tunisia to visit the Star Wars leftover set. They go here near the Redwoods to visit the leftovers from the Ewok scenes. Yeah, see, a lot of this stuff, well, yeah, it is kind of kiddie-ish. It's a different tone, and the movie itself takes a different speed. You could feel it changing gears at this point.
But it's not a happy film. I mean, I think that's a misinterpretation that people make about the film because they're coming off of Empire, which was dark. But this movie has quite a bit of darkness in it. I mean,
it does, but it alternates. It
does
Empire
alternate.
Empire was just darker, darkest. Empire really, if you think about it, really did not have any. I mean, with Yoda, before we know it's Yoda, but that's very. There's in the beginning when you don't know who Yoda is, he's kind of comical and cute. But then it's Dark Yoda, it's bad news Yoda.
Well, I had read that originally Yoda wasn't even supposed to be in the film. And that was Marquand actually was the one who said we need to resolve that storyline because Luke kind of left him high and dry and it's unfinished business. We should resolve it. I always kind of felt that Frank Oz phoned in that performance.
Really?
I mean, I know the Yoda was dying, but something didn't sound right.
It's also surprising if you think about it. This whole sequence of meeting the Ewoks and becoming friends with them gives Anthony Daniels a lot of face time, if you will, even though we never see his face. But it gives him a lot of airtime that normally C-3PO never gets this much attention. Mm-hmm. Unfortunately, R2 doesn't get much because he's just chirps and stuff like that. But, Anthony Daniels gets to do a lot of his shtick by being the interpreter, if you will, of the Ewoks. I love this whole thing where he's doing all the sound effects and recreating the sound, the history of the movies. Look, Carbon.
I think
Leia has another haircut.
In the Rinsler book, isn't there like a work print footage? There's work print footage of Anthony Daniels doing the whole scene in English. I think there is. You might be right. Telling the story.
Obviously, anything Anthony Daniels does, he can just redub.
Right.
Look at that. Those are little cute little guys. We've decided not to eat you. You're our friends now. Wonderful. Uh-oh. See, this looks so like.
So here's a funny factoid. George Lucas explained the reason behind why Yoda told Luke that Darth Vader was his father. Lucas had consulted with a child psychologist during the making of the film. The psychologist said that unless it was unequivocally stated that Vader was Luke's father, moviegoers aged 12 and under would dismiss Vader's claim to be Luke's father as a lie.
Some people did not believe him. That's right. You're right. You're absolutely right. I remember reading that.
Oh, you're just messing with me.
That's on the Rinsler book, I believe. That some people would just say, no, he's just lying. He's a bad guy. He lies.
Mm-hmm. He lies, yeah. Here we get another, hit like Lucas, writing by the seat of his pants. Going into the prequels, Leia is implying that she vaguely remembers her mother. She can't. There's no workaround this.
Yeah, no.
This line of dialogue.
No.
You can't. She can't have any memories of her mother.
Unless she's saying she remembers feelings.
Unless it's like a force thing.
No, it's. I have feelings that she was kind. I have feelings that she was beautiful.
No.
I don't buy it. It's a Lucas. You apologist.
Hey, I'm trying to make lemon out of lemonade.
You're trying to make spaghetti.
No, I'm trying to make lemonade out of lemons. Oh, something like that.
And I gotta tell you, I think this is like one of Carrie's worst line readings, or when she's like, "Luke, run away, far." I hate that. I hated it when I was 13.
Okay, let me ask you, not as somebody who's trying to make sense of this, but it's Empire. Empire's over. There's another. How would you bring another into the story?
I wouldn't have made Leia his sister.
Okay, just bring in
Here's my question.
Some
Who's
other
another
person.
Why does it?
Would it be a new character, or would it be
it would have been a new character,
a new background?
But I think it just is like pure laziness on the part of Lucas, or to have to bring in at this late date a major new character. I mean, Lando was it. They weren't.
It's not Lando. Lando's not the other.
It's not Lando. But my point is, Jedi, with the exception of some expository scenes, it's just boom, boom, boom. It's like a freight train. The pacing, and
I would disagree with you. I think it has these ups and downs.
Not very many.
I think this whole Ewok thing. After the bike chase, it's a down. We're in a down moment right now.
This. You have the Yoda scene, the Yoda / Ben scene. You have this scene.
Yes.
But a lot of information is revealed, to your point. It's like, boom, major plot point revealed. Boom, major plot point revealed. You know what I mean? They're just...
You slow down to give those to expositions.
Yeah.
Yeah, this... Oh, look. And then, when Harrison Ford comes in and hold me and...
Hold me.
Hate that.
Hold me.
I think it's poor writing. I don't think it's...
and they added the foggy effect of everything foggy, and because it's a dramatic scene, so you throw a little fog. Wow, look how... She looks old in this sharpness. Look at this.
She's been doing a lot of wootsie-tootsie right now.
Is that what the kids call it these days? Look up there. Look at those hazy things. That's cool. I've never seen...
And, Harrison's lurking in the background.
What are you doing?
You just kissed my boy. You just kissed Luke.
What are you doing?
Could you tell Luke?
Is that who you could tell?
What are you doing?
When?
I don't want to go to the...
Where's my Han Solo from New Hope, man?
Yeah, you bitch.
Scoundrel.
Man, look at that fog.
Yeah, I never really noticed.
It's like spider webs.
I can't tell you.
Hold me.
Okay, what is this? Ryan's Hope? Come on.
You can tell Luke. You little bastard.
Oh.
Look.
You made her cry.
Look at Han Solo's hair. It's growing. He's getting a little mullet going on there now.
Even he knows he's being a bitch.
Go say I'm sorry. You know the rules.
You're probably going to edit this out, but he's...
God, don't make this harder for me.
I'll leave it.
I have to edit this.
Yeah, leave it.
I'll bleep it.
Did you know that Endor is the Elvish word for Middle Earth?
Oh my God.
What?
The Elvish name for Middle Earth.
Wouldn't be surprised if that's where it came from. I mean, that's where he got it from.
That's funny.
This is a great shot.
Nice matte painting.
So many things happening. Matte painting, stop motion, the blue screen for the ship, lights. It's a great shot.
That is a great shot. It really is.
Matte painting in the front.
I love seeing the AT-AT.
Yeah.
There's a shot online, and I believe it might have been on the Rinsler book, when Vader holds the lightsaber and he's looking at it that Luke built.
Yeah.
It's not Prowse. It's not anybody you know. It's a black actor that looks like Ernie Hudson. And I don't know what his name is, but it's somebody who happened to be...
I think you're right.
...around there at the time. It's the close-up...
But this is also shot in England. This is on a stage.
Yes, but it might have been a pickup shot anywhere, because it's a close-up, I think. Look at that. You can see the head of the
AT-AT.
The AT-AT back. And you can see, like, the side. It's so cool. But the guy is in full costume. Except you see his head and he's wearing a cap. So...
You know, it's only within the last, 2 years with the Blu-ray and the Rinsler stuff. Until that time, they had been very stingy with deleted scenes and work print stuff.
Yeah.
You know, aside from like the big stuff and the Jabba unfinished scene, you were just seeing stills.
Yes.
You really were not getting where you get snippets.
I think this is him. This is this guy we were talking about. Which could have been shot anywhere.
Yeah. What I found most interesting, and again, I'm jumping the gun, in terms of deleted scenes, and you know, I prided myself on kind of knowing what was cut, was all the stuff on the Falcon with the other rebels.
The gunners.
The gunners.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's funny because you have to look hard, but those two gunners are in the rebel meeting.
Uh-huh.
They're in the background and they're dressed as rebels in the green outfits.
I guess we'll see it later, but is there any sort of like could you see like one of their shoulders or something in the cockpit, or is it just Lando and Nine Nub?
Oh no, you'll see at least one of them behind Lando.
Okay.
The one that to me looks like Rich Hyman.
Wow.
There's him, and then there's the younger. Well, that's the one they turned into Colonel Kraken, and they made an action figure out.
Well, now all of a sudden that guy's doing conventions in England because
really
all of a sudden
he is.
He's.
What about? I feel so bad for the other guy, the younger, nicer looking guy that was probably so happy he got a Star Wars job and zip.
Yeah, but you know, some of these actors, like the actress's name is Pam Rose, and I'm friends with her on Facebook. She played the big-headed female alien in the cantina. With like the. It's a big. She has a she has
with
a thing in the middle,
the black and white.
Which I don't think you can see her at all.
I've seen pictures, but I don't remember her face.
And she's making a living on the con circuit.
That's incredible. That's amazing. It's good for her,
No, I got no problem with that.
And England has so many of them.
Yeah, they do cons all the time in England because these actors, they don't have to fly them anywhere, and they're the smaller actors.
Yeah.
I mean, only you have people like Jeremy Bulloch who go all over the world, but a lot of them just stay in England.
Yeah. And England, I think, also has a lot of technical people that do the conventions, not just the actors. And that's something we don't see here too much.
No, we don't.
Here you might get an actor, but the technical people don't really do much.
Unless it's like Celebration.
Or unless they're only doing like San Francisco and L.A.,
Do you guys know when is the next Celebration? Is it right before Episode 7?
No,
it's in
April.
February in California. Oh, April?
April of next year because they were
April in California.
Because the movie was supposed to come out in May, and then they delayed it to December.
Oh, that sucks.
So it's in Anaheim.
It's California, so it's look behind.
Oh yeah,
there's the young guy, I think.
Now,
and then you're going to see the older guy too.
When do you think we'll see a trailer? But that's not the...
That's the older guy. That's Kraken back there.
Are you sure?
That's him.
Okay.
Dude, I know Rich Hyman's face anywhere.
All right. But the guy he doesn't look like the guy who's the gunner.
That's him.
All right, I trust you.
There's 2 gunners.
Yeah, so do you think there'll be a trailer like this holiday season? I know
some people were saying on the internet lately that Williams is working on the... Not only is he working on the score, he's working on a score for the trailer right now.
Wow.
Because they want to pump one out before the end of the year.
I hope they do.
We'll see. At least the teaser.
And again, I hate to put it in these terms, but, John Williams, if he lives long enough to do all 3 movies, he's going to be almost 90.
Well, has he been confirmed that he's going to do all the movies or just one?
I'm assuming as long as his health holds up, he'll do all 3.
How about the spin-offs?
Oh, that I don't know. I mean, that would probably be asking a lot.
Yeah, that's too much.
I'm sure he can't do the amount of movies he used to do.
No. But I think he would probably consider it a personal challenge to...
You know what they should do? The next time they re-release this on home video, make C-3PO blink. They'd be like, what the hell is he doing?
Is she wearing an Apple Watch?
Right?
I got a question for the Star Trek guy in the room. Is it true that the original title of Star Trek II was The Revenge of Khan?
Yes, it is true.
Okay. And that it was changed because
Revenge
they
of the
caught
Jedi.
wind that Revenge of the Jedi was going to be the Star Wars title.
Well, the original, to get hardcore nerd on you, of Star Trek II...
Was it The Vengeance of Khan?
Was The Undiscovered Country. Nicholas Meyer wanted to call it The Undiscovered Country.
Wow.
And
really?
He got his way when they got him to do Star Trek VI. I think he might have even put it in his contract. I am calling this movie The Undiscovered Country. Because Star Trek II, if you...
This might be Kenny Baker.
Yeah. But if you think about it, Star Trek II is about death, and that's The Undiscovered Country, is death. Mm-hmm. And Shakespeare and all that stuff. That was the original title. Then Paramount said, no effing way, and they made it, The Revenge of Khan. You know what? It might have been The Vengeance of Khan instead of The Revenge of Khan.
I remember the word vengeance.
It could have been. But it was definitely avenge. There was avenge there.
The Avengers of Khan.
There was avenge in there.
They made more...
To me, this whole sequence is so lame.
Yeah.
Well...
You rebel scum.
Well, this sequence also, I don't know if it's this one or the second time they go in, there's a lot of deleted scenes of fight. They have to fight their way in, like a lot. Like different levels they have to go down fighting, shooting stormtroopers. Mm-hmm. That's all in the deleted material also.
Yeah, of all the films, it was Jedi that had the most that was cut out of it that I didn't know about.
Yeah. And a lot of it is not necessarily scenes. It's alternate takes.
Yeah,
alternate information. Really.
Yeah, I mean, and just like with the battle for the Death Star, it was just those were just like cut-ins. Like the gunner and the other rebel pilots, like the Mon Calamari pilot.
And
the female pilots. The old lady. What the hell?
Grandma, turn left. Okay.
What the hell?
I wonder once we start seeing the close-ups of the Emperor on Blu-ray, if they're going to look weird.
Because his eyes.
Because everything. Remember they called it the worm? That black thing that would travel on the Emperor's head because of the bad animation. Apparently they lit him wrong and you could see the edge of the makeup. Mm-hmm. So they added animation black blotches up there to cover it. But now they fixed it. Oh, he looks great now.
Mm-hmm. He really does.
Because apparently you could see the seams. But unfortunately, with people's television sets, and even not so much in the movie, because in the movie everything looks nice and black is black. But at home, on home video, especially on VHS, you would see this black blob over his head moving.
Oh, God.
Which was the animation covering the mistakes. That looks pretty good.
I love the sort of verbal jousting that's going on in this scene with Luke and the Emperor. Now, I have a question for you guys, and just out of curiosity, what you think. At what point do you think Vader decided to betray the Emperor? Did he decide to betray the Emperor at the moment that he actually does it? Or does he, in his mind, when the Emperor says, your feelings are not clear on this matter, did he decide to, was he already thinking, I'm going to take him out?
Let me take you back to Empire.
Okay.
Together, we can defeat the Emperor. He has foreseen it. Vader's plan, I think, all along. Remember, they're Sith. The apprentice has to kill the master. Right. Vader is always planning on killing the Emperor.
Okay. And using Luke to be his apprentice,
and being Luke to help, using Luke to help him do it. Here, the decision he has to make is Luke strong enough to help me and do it, or do I have to cut Luke loose and concentrate on the next opportunity?
But let me just add another wrinkle to this, because at a certain point, Vader. All right, if I accept that, Vader's plan is to kill the Emperor and to take over. At the very end, Vader is having a change of heart. He loves his son. He doesn't want his son to die, and he's, I guess, almost regretting his whole life.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I think it's because Luke spared his life.
Oh, yeah, no.
I think that's the trigger. Uh-huh. Because up until that point, he's beating the crap out of him.
He is.
And you're going to see Ben Burt in a minute. There goes Ben. No, he's the guy I think they throw over the edge. You rebel scum.
You badly dubbed rebel scum.
They'll be captured with
Stay with me.
people running in after them.
Protect me. That's Ben Burt.
Yeah.
Goodbye, Ben Burt.
Wilhelm.
Another Wilhelm, yeah.
Oh. I don't have that guy's autograph. I need to get on that.
How dare you? There he is.
I'm also friends with Mike Quinn on Facebook.
It's Tickle Me Elmo.
Now that's, I think, the first time you hear Dennis Lawson's real voice.
Redley Da.
That's definitely his real voice.
Luke, I'm not set. The attack vector.
No, that's not his voice. Wedge is all screwed up in like A New Hope.
See? That's him. Oh, you just missed him.
Look at the guy.
Look at his face.
Okay, I think you're right.
They don't know we're coming. The shield's still up.
You know what? Again, this scene, I mean, it holds up now, but even 30 years ago, it blew my mind.
Oh, with all those spacecraft?
Oh, I think
when they all come at the camera.
That shot that was in the commercial
they
or the
should
trailer.
have had a few ships crash into the shield so we could see the fact that there's a shield.
Yeah. But yeah, when they all, I was like, holy shit. Not
incredible.
This
that right there.
That's a famous shot. That was their biggest effect shot ever.
See, and then they took it like to the nth degree in
Revenge of the
Sith. In the beginning, it's like you can't see anything.
Yeah,
it's overload. Like you're missing the point.
Yep, absolutely.
They transformed it.
Yeah. Noise and flashing
Let's
things.
hope, JJ knows to scale it back.
You got to slow down, man.
Wow, his teeth are so much more disgusting now than they were ever
He
before.
looks great.
You want this?
I could feel.
Yes. My kids love that line.
He's awesome.
You want this candy? I could feel it.
Okay, another thing we should just touch on,
Yes.
Carlos.
Touch on Carlos.
The despecialized editions have become very, very in vogue to discuss.
Oh, that's such a hard topic to talk about.
Well, what are they?
Somebody tried to recreate the original Star Wars, the original, the one you saw in the theater in '77.
All three of them.
Yeah, all three of them, especially Star Wars. And they did it. It's incredible.
There's a YouTube demonstration.
Yeah, by mashing every conceivable version out there, including the Blu-rays.
and
they actually digitally made some stuff too that they couldn't recreate. It's an unbelievable task, which every fan, hardcore fan should take a look at because it's just ridiculous how well made it is.
The work that's went into it.
By a non, person having to do with the film.
Yeah.
The other thing about these films is that they all have a a iconic locations, and obviously Empire had Hoth. This movie is the forest.
Yeah.
You know, you got to see Tatooine again, that's fine, and you got to see the Death Star again, that's fine, but the big new location here is Endor.
And in the prequels, it's all green screen land.
Well,
you know, again, in Episode 7, supposedly we're going to have some... I mean,
we might be returning to some some classic
possibly.
locations. And there's definitely a sand Tatooine-ish looking place.
Yeah, exactly. So we have the sand.
Now this is what we were talking about before.
Snow.
The little guys fighting the big mechanical army.
Yeah.
The primitives versus the moderns. I always wonder, because you see it sometimes, these little puny arrows are hitting stormtroopers and they're dying. So the question is, do they penetrate just the black parts, or are we assuming that these arrows go through the armor?
I don't know. It would be kind of amazing if they penetrate the armor.
And keep in mind that the part of the purpose of the armor is that it's supposed to hold out against certain blaster fire. Not all of it, because obviously you shoot them and they go down.
Right.
But the point of armor...
Did you just see that Rebel, the matte lines around that Rebel? It was almost like he was stuck in after the fact. I never saw that before.
It's possible, because I think they had to hide some things by adding things on top. You might be right. Yeah, this guy looks a little green, but he looks a little, flat. Too bad. They were also, I remember seeing in the storyboards that there were also some very violent storyboards drawn about
like
the Ewoks
deaths?
dying, like some really horrific blaster fire and dismemberment type of stuff that I guess the storyboard people were pitching and they never really went for.
Yeah. I have to say, I really wish, after seeing the Rinsler book, I would have loved to have seen like a battle royal with Yoda, Ben, the Emperor, Vader, Luke, in that sort of molten cave.
Yeah, that was abandoned pretty quickly.
It was pretty early on, but it would have been amazing.
Where it would have been like the only way to defeat the Emperor.
The Emperor,
was to have three against two or something like that.
I mean, I could see why it was abandoned, but it just, it would have been kind of neat.
Chicken Walker.
Now, what's also cool about, I'll give Lucas his credit where it's due, is the fact that this isn't just an action sequence we're watching here. We're watching 3 action sequences at the same time, edited together.
Right, and which is what he does in the prequels too.
And this is something he's very good at.
Yeah.
He keeps you engaged at 3 different locations in 3 different manners.
And I have to say, for all the bitching that I do about the prequels, I mean, he does that very effectively in those films too.
Yes. You're definitely not bored with his action.
No.
You're usually bored with his slower stuff.
I mean, I have to say, like, I'm sort of on the fence between liking Revenge of the Jedi more than Revenge of the Sith, vice versa, because aside from any scene in Revenge of the Sith with Hayden Christensen and Natalie Portman, I really love that movie.
Yeah.
I really do.
Because in Revenge of the Sith that's what you envisioned as what the prequel to this whole thing was.
Right.
The Revenge of the Sith is almost... The other 2 movies are like prequels to Revenge of the Sith. It's setting up Revenge of the Sith, where it would have been nicer if the whole movie was... The whole trilogy was Revenge of the Sith spaced out in some shape or form.
More. Mm-hmm. Yeah, because I could totally do without Phantom Menace and a lot of Attack of the Clones.
I don't really care about knowing young Anakin. I'd rather know a battle ready Anakin who's in the midst of
Vader,
right, and let him
in the midst
fail.
Let his descent to the dark side go across 3 movies.
Now, speaking of deleted scenes, there's apparently some scenes before this where Vader tries to get an audience with the Emperor, but the Emperor is playing games with him. He will not see him. And in one instance, Moff Gideon had just came out of a meeting with the Emperor and is telling Vader, no, you can't come in here. And Vader starts to choke Gideon, and the royal guards draw their pikes at Vader. And then Vader kind of backs off.
Yep.
So
that's
Emperor,
on the Blu-ray.
Yeah, the Emperor is playing these head games with Vader.
He's messing with him.
That we never really got to see.
Well, because the Emperor's plan is apparently, you're finished. I want Luke. But I can't let you know that.
Right.
Because they both have their plans. Because the Emperor knows, it's Vader's son, and Vader would probably want to take him out. But the Emperor's thinking, I could get a brand new apprentice here who's not 90% robot, and who could be really great, who could be like sort of a Darth Maul level operative.
This guy!
Yeah.
It's funny, I remember right before Jedi came out, Siskel and Ebert were reviewing it, and normally they get an advance clip.
Yeah.
And I remember this was the clip, them shooting at the stormtroopers from the bunker, but there were no special effect scenes. It was just the shootout. And it was like, that's it? That's all you can show me? None of this. You wouldn't see any of this.
Yeah, I can't remember the first clip I saw.
The first picture I remember seeing, period, was in, I think, Bantha Tracks. It was a black and white picture of the rebels being escorted out of the bunker, and it said Revenge of the Jedi.
The first picture I ever saw of Return of the Jedi was Luke pointing his blaster at Jabba with the other creatures coming after him. That
Starlog had a ton of pictures.
Yeah, that was the first one I saw.
When they really then unloaded all the pictures on us. And I remember I was like, oh my God, that looks like a Death Star, but it's got chunks missing. I used to remember at first, I was thinking, oh my God, they didn't blow it up completely. It still has functional chunks of it. And it's like, no, this is the second Death Star. Oh, okay, second Death Star. Never mind. No!
I'm hit.
They made all these action figures, by the way, in case you're wondering. I know you're all wondering, did they really make all these pilots? Yes, they did.
I mean, I have to say, I had no criticism about this movie when it first came out.
Oh, absolutely not.
For years after. And even now, say what you want. I don't know. I don't have, I have very little, aside from the fact that I think stuff was wrapped up a little too neatly.
Yeah.
I love this movie.
I remember coming out of this movie with, and I don't know if any of you guys experienced this, but I've heard stories like this before from other fans. A double depression that would hit me after this movie. Depression number one is, now remember, I'm 13 years old, so I'm nobody. I'm nothing. Depression number one was, it's over. What do I do now? Star Wars is over. Lucas doesn't want to make any more movies. Mm-hmm. What are we going to do now? Depression number two is, I missed out on working on this. I didn't get a chance. Again, 13 years old. Yeah, right. Dream on, kid. And it was like, oh my God, what happens now? What happens now?
Well, for me, and what ended up happening for me, and I know this did not happen for you guys, but I went straight into Star Trek.
Yeah.
And as the movies continued and continued, I hate this.
Yeah.
Hate this.
Which he did again in Crystal Skull of the Monkey Island.
But my love of Star Trek.
I'm sorry, Richard Marquand and Robert Watts.
Robert Watts,
Thank you.
I became this crazed Trekkie, and it's eclipsed my affection for Star Wars.
We all found bounce back girlfriends after this.
Bounce back girlfriends.
Steve found Star Trek. I don't know what the hell I found. Everything else in the.
But I'm saying when Star Wars came back, I was excited, but then it was the prequels, and the prequels were the prequels, and
right.
As Episode 7 is approaching, I'm
nice.
that momentum is starting to build again.
There were apparently other gags that never made it of how to destroy Imperial walkers.
Well, some of them are good, and the one with the logs is good.
I think there was one where they're supposed to drop these giant rocks on them or something like that, but they had to obviously cut them down because for timing and for money. You can't have too many expensive gags.
The thing that bothered me too at the time were that these were not readily or quickly. I think by the time Jedi came out, Star Wars and Empire were on VHS. But it took Jedi...
You might be right.
It took Jedi like 2 years to come out on VHS. I know it came out in like 85.
I always wondered, and this is something I even wonder on Empire during the Hoth battle. You see these big vehicles shooting, and the vehicles don't necessarily hit a person. They hit near a person, but the people go down anyway. So my question is it shrapnel that's killing them, or is it some kind of concussion?
Maybe.
Sound pressure that's hitting them, or why are people being affected by misses?
And I guess they don't want to show too much of that happening. Because,
Well, you don't want too much gore, obviously.
Right. Yeah, you never see blood.
But rarely. I mean, this is the most you're going to get out of blood. Her shoulder.
But the
Oh, did you see that? He just grabbed her breast.
That was something I remember on the internet. Some people were saying, look at the shot where he grabs
And he
her
quickly
boob.
repositioned his hand.
He loves chicks with guns.
That was a nice callback. Carlos, you're not going to remember
See?
this.
Look, blood on the fingers.
Carlos, this was the scene that I used to show you that letterboxing was real. It was, I swear to God. Carlos is like, don't talk about that. That never happened. Shut up.
That and Alien 3 don't exist.
Shut up. Get out of my house.
Before the dark times.
Chewbacca. So here's my question. Does Han get inside to make the call? Because I think he is inside the cockpit.
Yes.
I think so.
He does get in there.
He has to climb in there. So he puts on the shirt. He doesn't put on the pants, I assume, and the helmet.
I don't know. Okay, now it's Bob Anderson as Darth Vader, not Dave Prowse.
Here's another insane trivia toy fact. In Star Wars, Wedge survives the Death Star, Luke survives the Death Star, Han Solo survives the Death Star. There's another pilot that survives the Death Star.
Is a Y-wing pilot.
A Y-wing pilot.
Right.
Apparently, that Y-wing pilot is part of this attack on Death Star 2, and they made a figure out of him.
Really?
And he's supposed to be flying one of the B-wings.
Oh, Jesus.
Just,
I never knew that.
Put that on your pipe and crack pipe and smoke it.
That's hardcore.
We don't mess around here.
So Ian McDiarmid was in Dragon Slayer?
Apparently.
Wow.
Who did he play in Dragon Slayer?
I don't know. You know, in all honesty, it's been 1,000 years since I saw Dragon Slayer. I haven't watched it more than maybe 3 times in my entire life. Mm-hmm. I mean, it was a cable mainstay.
Yeah.
Yes. Show HBO every day.
And this is the first time you hear Vader winded.
See, and Luke claims to feel the good in him, meaning he just doesn't want to kill him.
Well, yeah,
that's his interpretation.
I think, yeah, he's feeling like you're my son. I love my son.
I love it. Just
this.
Throws his saber.
That was great.
Stuntman?
It's like,
oh yeah, total stunt.
Don't mess with me. I'm just gonna throw my lightsaber at you.
Emperor. That's a new line. We're sure in the middle of it now.
Oh, I don't remember that.
It was not. I swear to God, for like 1,000 years, it was
There
not
he is.
in the movie.
Wait, but hold on a second. He's in. We think he's in the cockpit, but look, he's on the side now.
Right, how'd he get down there?
Then he's not in the cockpit. He's probably standing behind the door or something, wearing a helmet. We gotta figure this out.
This is great.
Where did we see that other footage, by the way, when they're running around in there?
It's a deleted scenes.
It's on the Blu-ray.
It is,
yeah,
right?
the deleted
Okay.
scenes Blu-ray stuff. Yeah. Now, what's interesting here was also this scene right now. When he teases Luke enough to start fighting again,
Yeah.
there's a music with a chorus in the background. Very
Soft.
chorally chorus. that I love. It's such a perfect theme for the fighting that takes place.
Once the fighting starts.
When the soundtrack came out, that was not in
there,
it. And I was fuming.
Really?
And years later, when they released this box set of all the Star Wars music ever, a while back, like in the 90s, before the special editions, I believe, they finally had extra tracks. And that throne room fight, they finally threw it in there.
Yeah. Failure is complete. Also, too, and I believe in other iterations of the script, you notice that Vader has no clue that Yoda is still in the picture.
Well,
he's always mentioning Obi-Wan. Never once does he mention Yoda.
In the novel, which again might have came from the screenplay. That's usually how it works.
Right.
The Emperor is feeling Luke's mind and saying, "So who's been teaching you?"
I love this, by the way.
Yeah, the music.
You
is
hear,
great.
you hear that chorus?
Oh yeah,
The music, the
You're supposed to hear the
the intensity is just.
The Emperor is supposed to tease Luke. Who's been teaching you? And he's like, Yoda? Is he still alive? And Luke won't tell him.
Yeah.
But he's like, oh, he's not alive. Good. So it's kind of like the Emperor's reading his mind and he can't control himself.
Right.
But they don't touch it on whatsoever.
They do touch on though in the novel. Ben tells him that it's he's
my
responsible.
brother.
Well, that's awful. The Owen thing. But he tells Luke that he's responsible for Vader. They dueled over Molten Pit, and Vader fell in. That's in the novel.
So
I remember that.
They rehash the Journal of the Wills stuff, I guess.
But he says it to him on Dagobah.
Yeah. And the author can't just make that up.
No.
That has to come from a draft.
Yes.
That later on gets revised and axed. Oh, well. Bzz.
Oh, he's pissed.
All right, get me another one. Vader, I love you. You're always my best one. I love you.
It's like the whole the Lego, the Star Wars Lego, where Darth Maul comes back and Vader's like, "What are you doing here?"
Jedi.
So be it.
Okay, this miniature explosion, which is a miniature behind a matte painting, almost took out the set that they were blowing up.
Oh,
they said they used too much, whatever the hell they used, napalm or whatever.
Napalm.
And it completely burned everything. They were like, thank God we didn't have to reshoot it because we destroyed everything.
Oh my God. If you will not
be turned, will be crispy critter.
Now we know, right? Vader can't throw the lightning because he's metallic. His arms got no arms. Is that it?
Maybe.
Didn't Lucas say that? Didn't Lucas say that
you need physical hands?
You need hands to do that?
Now my question is, when Palpatine was trying to fry Mace Windu, Mace Windu threw it back at him and turned him into
Mace deflected it with his lightsaber,
right, and turned him into a freaking shriveled grape.
Right.
How come Luke is not turning into one of the?
That's true.
One of those grape-looking people.
Maybe he's just torturing him. He's not going full power.
Or maybe the deflection adds more power to it.
Maybe.
Some people were theorizing that that it's part of the Force, the dark side of the Force that turns you into that.
Well, Yoda can throw the lightning, can he?
Yeah, he's got hands. No.
Wait, Yoda can't throw the lightning?
Weren't they throwing like the same type of lightning at each other? And they were pushing each other's lightnings away or something?
Yoda had the lightning.
You're right. Okay, in the movie theater right now,
I was stroking out.
Everybody is screaming.
Point.
The whole theater was like, they were like, kill him.
I had already spoiled it. I knew Vader was going to kill the Emperor. They were
screaming. It was like being at a sporting event. I've never been in a movie where people were so into it.
The music just works so well right here.
No, see, that's the new line.
That's not necessary.
Yeah. He says it twice. The cheering that went on
And it's cool. You see the skeleton.
That was always there. The skeleton was always there.
I'm sure it's been tweaked again, but.
Okay, now, do we think we're going to see the Emperor in Episode 7?
Well, he's like 100 years old in Jedi.
But, like, I don't know. There's been some teasing.
You hear Vader's breathing.
Right. He's wheezing.
He was this is from 1977, this audio. Vader was originally supposed to sound like this all the time, and they saved it.
Wow. It's too weak.
It is very weak.
It's too broken.
There's a part of me that, I mean, it would be, I mean, you could maybe say it's lazy, but how cool would that be to see Ian McDiarmid show up? I don't know.
I think they are using it as an opportunity to get away from certain entanglements. Like let's just do a new story.
Well, does Lucas have any approval of the script or no?
I don't know. I think he can make suggestions, but
or is it the writers? No, but wait a minute. But it's Kasdan.
It's Kasdan,
but Kasdan can write.
I mean, the first guy...
Complete garbage, and somebody has to approve it or not approve it.
Well, maybe Kathleen Kennedy?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah, but couldn't Disney at some point say...
Disney could...
let me read this. You suck.
Well, the first draft guy was... They gave him the boot.
Which you're never going to learn whether
it
wasn't good enough or that would...
Unless, 30 years from now, there'll be another Rinsler book when we're 70.
Oh, of course. There's going to be a making of. You know that. But it'll be Disney's version of the making of.
We should mention that, just right prior to the recording of this commentary, we learned the title of Episode 7.
The Force Awakens.
Yeah. I don't know about that title.
It's better, I think, than...
It's better than Phantom Menace.
Than Phantom Menace or Attack of the Clones.
Yeah.
Revenge of the Sith was a good title.
Best title was The Empire Strikes Back.
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
The Force Awakens, it's a safe title.
Yeah. So does that imply that the Force has been sleeping for the last 30 years?
Well, the Force has... Yeah, but the Force has been dead as a Jedi Order.
Well, that's my question, too. And again, I'm just curious. I'm just thinking out loud. That's Star Wars footage, right? This is A New Hope. Right until that.
I hope... I really hope not. But
I think it was.
But it looks like it, but I really wish it wasn't.
Luke's mandate was to rebuild the Jedi Order. You would think that long before Episode 7, he would have a couple more Jedi under his wing,
Yeah. Again, there's so many spoilers out there that could be false or true, and I don't want to speculate on what on the little bits and pieces. And the only thing I think is probably true is that that last leaked concept art, which I don't believe for 1 minute it was leaked. I think it was a purpose. Putting it out there by the studio because of all the Marvel stuff that was coming out. And even though it's the same company, it's Disney, but even the DC announcement, I think it was the Star Wars version of a controlled leak to say, hey, people, hey, guys, don't forget, we still have this in the works. Don't get too excited over superheroes. I was so disappointed when I saw his face.
Oh, tell me about it.
Granted,
how did you feel, Steve?
Here, they removed his eyebrows, I think.
I was expecting like some really horrific...
To me, he looks like a Thurston Howell III.
Yeah, he looked too nice,
Yeah. Too grandfatherly.
I mean, I know he's supposed to be older, but...
Too not ugly
soft,
enough, I think. Yeah, too nice.
Not scarred enough. I mean, he doesn't even look as scarred in the back as he did in Empire, to me.
I just have a hard time looking at that same actor and seeing him be just the embodiment of evil.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I just don't see it.
He doesn't look menacing. I mean, the scars, ugly scars, yeah, but... And again, you could say, well, that's the whole point. He's supposed to look nice now because he's a good guy.
Yeah.
They just put a freaking radio dash on his face.
If he looked really fearsome and ugly, yeah, I get that.
Say, how could he ever be nice? He's an ugly, mean guy,
Would you like to hear another theory on the Force ghost?
Okay.
Yeah.
Concept? The reason Vader does not dissolve immediately after death like Yoda is that he did not yet know how. The ability to do so and then become a Force ghost is only passed along from already existing Force ghosts. Obi-Wan learned it from Yoda, who in turn had learned from Qui-Gon Jinn. Right. Anakin appears as a Force ghost shortly after his death, implying he quickly mastered the ability to manifest himself, and his burnt remains subsequently disappeared.
So if that's true, then theoretically, if you can learn it in the after world, then theoretically all the other Jedi that died could be learning it too right now in class.
Possibly. In class.
In Ghost
heaven,
class.
Heaven class?
Yeah. Because then everybody should have the Force Ghost ability.
Yeah.
Yes, it's a good point.
If that's true.
And it would be pretty crowded up there in heaven.
Seriously, in Jedi.
Or in
Sorry, this class is taken. You're going to have to re-sign up next
Jedi
semester.
Purgatory.
And you know where that is? It's the island from Lost.
That's true.
Jesus.
Because JJ Abrams, dude, come on.
Oh, there's a smoke monster right
Pay
there.
attention. Oh, that's our go boom.
So, I read something that explosion is referred to as the Praxis explosion.
Yes,
because
from
of Undiscovered
Star Trek
Country.
6.
From the ring.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which they also used in the New Hope.
Yeah.
The ring.
Oh, they did it in all of
Yeah.
them now. Now it's it became a
Praxis
very
is the Klingon moon that is destroyed in the beginning of Trek 6.
we destroyed the Death Star. Now we dance.
He's my brother. I've only made out with him twice.
You're cool with that, right? Han's looking at Chewie like, Chewie or Leia? I'll take Leia.
Yes. I understand.
I'll get out of the way. You little inbred bastards.
Yeah,
You and your little inbred brother.
Oh, you fool. You weak-minded fool.
So do we think, there's going to be like, you think, was it Jan and Jaina Solo going to be, or Jason or Jason?
Something tells me they don't want to touch the EU in a major fashion. They might touch upon it as little cameo or little Easter egg.
Everybody's saying that Daisy Ridley's playing their daughter.
I hear that she's playing Leia's daughter. No, I'm sorry. I hear that she might be playing a younger version of Leia, like a young Leia. Like they're going to do a little flashbacky thing.
That's interesting.
That'd be interesting.
Or the daughter. It could go in either direction.
I just want a trailer.
And it has something to do with at least at first Luke going out on some sort of
and disappearing
vision quest or walkabout and disappearing, and the first film has a lot to do with looking for Luke.
Lucas did direct this scene, by the way.
He's found something. He's looking for something. He's found something important. And they're going to try to, I believe, tie it to Rebels in some shape or form.
Yeah, but Rebels takes place before New Hope.
No, I'm saying there's going to be some continuity.
Oh,
with either characters or events. This is all new. This is all special edition.
This is unnecessary, but it didn't bother me.
It was cute. I like it. Yay.
Well, it was great. It was great when you saw Coruscant before Phantom Menace, and you saw the Emperor statue falling. And there's special edition Tatooine.
Well, you'll see it here in a few seconds.
Speaking of EU,
here comes.
Did you read
Naboo?
Heir to the Empire, the Zahn book?
Yes, but I read it like when it came out.
I like when it first came out. Yeah. So Coruscant is mentioned in that book.
Yes.
And
here's
Lucas,
statue,
commandeered it.
There goes the statue.
There goes the statue. That's the thing. Like, Lucas, took some of the EU stuff and made it canon.
Yeah.
Yes. But again, not what I would consider to be minimal stuff. Because Lucas has always been a canon is for the fans. Let them do whatever they want. Leave the F alone. Music change here. No more.
Yub.
No more yub. Which again, now it's more of a Caribbean type of celebration.
Yeah.
It feels more Yanni to me.
Yanni.
Never bothered me before. I don't know why.
No, it didn't bother me. It's okay. This is okay too.
Either one is fine. It doesn't really matter.
Yeah.
Now, everybody's happy. Everybody's celebrating.
Even Wedge.
Let's let Wedge be there.
Somebody was also saying that Luke with that flap, the white flap, represents that. Not that he was evil, but now he's a good guy for sure.
Oh, the gray?
Because he has the white or the gray
that's
flap,
interesting.
as opposed to all black. You're no longer questioning his loyalties, I guess.
Well, did anybody really think that Luke was going to turn to the dark side at the end?
But I think there was a moment there where it was questionable.
Okay,
this is totally unnecessary.
They changed this. It used to be
completely unnecessary.
Sebastian Shaw.
They changed it to
as much as we don't agree with him looking like Vader. No reason to change it.
Which also brings you back to the another problem with this isn't the ghost supposed to be the image you died on, not the. I guess you get to pick an image. You get to pick your thumbnail when you die.
Thumbnail, my GIF.
But then why wouldn't Obi-Wan pick himself as a younger version of himself?
That doesn't make sense.
Or Yoda. Like, hey, look at that young little lizard dude.
If I live to be 80 and I'm going to pick my avatar, I want to look like I do. Not now. I want to look like I did 20 years ago.
Same thing with Yoda. They have him. That's because obviously revision. They had to revise.
It'll be interesting to see if Harrison Ford, when they do the credits, if will Harrison jump over Mark and Carrie.
I heard that he is the main character.
Okay.
Not one of three. He is the main character, and they are supporting his story.
Are they going to make him the star?
Well, that's the thing.
I know that was a huge challenge when he got hurt.
Yeah,
because everything's revolving around him.
Yeah,
so they had they were shut down for weeks,
a month at least,
6 weeks.
6 weeks, yeah.
And they did as much as they possibly could without him.
Oh wow, Marcia Lucas is still credited as editor.
Yeah,
because I guess they were technically still married.
Yeah, but it was going down the tubes. I just hope. I mean, I don't want to see I'd rather I don't want to see Mark Hamill in the first 10 minutes and the last 10 minutes. I'd like to see him in a fairly substantial role. The thing I heard was that he's MIA for a good portion of the film, but we see him wherever he is. Okay,
meaning that they're separated.
All right,
but we at least get to see where he is.
That's okay. I think it's also questionable are we going to see what percentage of the film are these original guys in? Are they in half the film? Quarter of the film? Are they there just to introduce?
Well, that's the other thing.
Everything else that's going to happen. Are they going to show up in
the other two? 8 or 9? Yeah. Well, that's the thing. Again, just from a purely sentimental point of view, I would like them to be in all three. It just might be that they're only in the first one. To just kind of get the ball rolling, which I would understand. But I think I think you would. Make a lot of people happy. Peter Diamond. You'd make a lot of people happy if they were in all three.
Yeah. Going back to something we mentioned earlier, we were talking about Lippincott.
But Harrison Ford, if they do, he'll be pushing 80.
Mm-hmm. Wow, that time. That's amazing. Going back to the Lippincott stuff we were talking about, and Marcia Lucas was credited there. Again, one of the things I recommend about trying to read some of these Lippincott posts is that one of his big pet peeves is the fact that he believes that throughout the years the story of Star Wars, the making of Star Wars, has been sanitized so many times.
Yeah.
And it's true. I mean, we kind of talk about Star Wars not only because we collect some of the toys and because we love all the books and this and that and the other.
We just love it, period.
It's become kind of like to us, like old people who talk about, back in the 50s, everything was wonderful.
Good old days.
And you could leave your door unlocked and nobody would rob you.
There was no crime.
And crime didn't exist and everybody loved each other.
Well, that's why I like Lippincott.
But that's the thing. We kind of treat I treat Star Wars kind of that way, and it's refreshing to kind of learn about these stories, these people that apparently were very important in the making of these films,
but have been diminished.
Because of problems, fights, disagreements, divorces, whatever you want to call it, and they get completely erased from history.
Look at Gary Kurtz.
Gary Kurtz
Rinsler gave him his due, but,
right? But
still,
apparently, I have heard from so many sources that Marcia Lucas, sometimes people give her credit for saving Star Wars in terms of editing, because yes, George Lucas gets the credit or the fact that he's apparently his directing happens in the edit room, that sort of thing. But she was the one that was a professional editor. He wasn't.
Right.
He was technically a director writer, and he claims he hates writing. So whatever it is that he does, I have a feeling there's a lot of stories out there about things that just never made it to the final revision.
I don't think Marsha Lucas has gone on the record at all. Ever.
No, I have a feeling that part of her divorce agreement was to keep your mouth shut.
Yep.
They gave her X amount of money, and if you ever open your mouth, we take it back.
Yeah, go away.
But yeah, these stories. Now, don't get me wrong. I said before, the making of books are amazing. The Rinsler books are great. Even the older books, the ones that came out in the 70s and 80s, are
Bob
great.
Anderson, he did get a credit.
Katie Purvis.
Yeah.
But you got to remember that these books are the Lucasfilm. Everybody is their version of the story.
Dirk Johann Baer.
That's exactly what you're listening to. If you just if you read only one book. Mm-hmm. Look, Rick McCallum. Because of
there's also been quite a few unauthorized.
Yes, stuff. I've read one, and I think it's called Empire Building. I read that one that has a lot of interesting stuff. Well, Skywalking was authorized, but later there were problems with that.
Oh, okay.
And there's another one called The Secret History of Star Wars, which deals a lot with Marsha Lucas and all that other stuff. And there's one they just put out there. I forget the name of it, but it has a lot of Gary Kurtz material in it. They just put it out there like a month ago. Again, you can't take any of this like gospel because some of them could be wrong
from a certain point of view.
Yeah, there could be disgruntled employees and yada, yada, yada. But you got to kind of take it all and see what fits where.
Yeah. Well, we're recording this in November of 2014, and just in 13 months we're going to have episode 7.
Yeah, it's really interesting.
And maybe we'll sort of depart from our, tradition of doing classic movies to comment on, and maybe we'll hit that one.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Because everybody's dying for our commentary on episode 7, I'm sure.
Of course.
Well, we have plenty of time to prepare for it.
Yes.
And like I said before, I have a feeling this film, by the fact that we do have another one coming, the stock of this film is going to slightly go up a little bit more. No matter how much some people might hate this film, it's more relevant because I think you're going to be comparing or you're going to be judging how good the next one is more based on this than Empire or Star Wars. Not in terms of, well, I like Star Wars better or I like Empire better. It's the continuity. Mm-hmm. This is the jumping off point now. So if you look at the new film and say, well, this could never have happened 30 years after this.
Right.
This is where you start.
Well, that's the thing. I hope they pay attention to what happened right at the end so it doesn't seem ridiculous, whatever they do.
Right. Right.
And we all know Anthony Daniels made a very bold claim on Twitter, saying that this was episode 7 was going to be as good as Empire.
Again, how could you know that? You just finished shooting.
I know.
You have not seen anything on film yet.
Yeah.
So we'll see what happens. Yep. So, I mean, I do look forward to what happens next, that's for sure. Of course. And remember, the original plan, even though we kind of remember it was 9 films and then they said it was only 6 films or it was on 3 films, the original plan was 12 films. 12 films is on record as being the original Lucas master plan, but through the years he kept revising it down to 9. Between 81 and 84, he brought it down to 9. After 84, he said it was only 3. Then when the prequels were coming, oh no, I meant 6. So even though right now we are under the impression that 9 was the magic number, don't be surprised if they go back to the original number, which is 12.
We'll see.
Well, I want to thank both of our commentators today, Steve and Steve, for letting us finish our original trilogy commentaries. Maybe we'll do prequels one day. Who knows?
Who knows?
Anything could happen. So on behalf of everybody here at GeekFest Rants, thank you for listening, and we will see you here next time at GeekFest Rants. Bye-bye, everybody.
Episode 7, here we come.
Oh, Shuda.
I always thought it was cool when Luke went back to Dagobah because I want to see as much Yoda, Obi-Wan Kenobi interaction as possible.
What I told you was true from a certain point of view.
A certain point of view?
Oh, yeah, that's right. She's your sister.
I kissed her, dude.
Your dad was killed by Darth Vader. This is a senior moment.
What do you want? I'm an old guy. I was basically living in a sand igloo when you found me.
Perfect plot point before I die.
Oh, yeah.
Take a look, carbon.
Where?
Grandma, turn left. Okay. Woohoo.
Muki.